30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network. Welcome on in to Draft Day. Yes, that's right. A Thursday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram where I'm straight flexing or via the good old cesspool of Twitter at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. We have a full house here today. Perfect attendance. Moist Mike, Stuart Kovacs, rocking and rolling all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Andrew Perloff of the Maggie and Perloff Show right here on many of these same Infinity Sports Network affiliates. He's going to join us in studio at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific today. If you thought I was obsessed with the draft, and if I was considered a draft nerd, just wait until you hear Andrew Perloff just rant and rave about these draft prospects. He has an against-the-grain take coming up, and he also did text me, and he was asking my permission if it would be okay on this show, that he has a list of 5 players that will be big draft hits. He said, I would love to run them by you today. And I said, absolutely. So should be fun an hour from now. And that got me thinking, by the way. We sit here pretty much ever since the season ended, right? Regular season for these teams that need players in this draft early for the most part in the top 10. And you sit here in January, it really gets going in the middle of February once the NFL season with the Super Bowl comes to a close. And from the middle of February all the way up until the end of April, it's draft, and more draft. And I would say that if you never watched football before and you had no clue how the draft did work, you would think that just by 90 to 95% of the conversation being quarterback, that only quarterbacks are eligible to get drafted in the NFL draft tonight. Now, if you're a super duper serious sports fan like all of us here on the Infinity Sports Network, you know that isn't the case. But it did get me thinking, who are the 3 players that you trust the most in this NFL draft? And when I did this exercise, I actually did not have a single quarterback. So the 3 players I have, Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, and then Joe Alt. I'll explain why in just a second, but let's stir around the quarterback pot a little bit, and let's examine why those quarterbacks in this draft I don't really trust as much as the other 3 players that I just mentioned, and 2 wide receivers, and then also an offensive lineman. So Caleb Williams is the quarterback that I trust the most. And I've been pretty consistent with this. It's been Caleb Williams 1. It's been Jaden Daniels 2. Drake May 3. Michael Penix 4. And J.J. McCarthy 5 in my rankings. The concern I have with Caleb Williams, and it may not be something that's valid, but it's just the fatigue. And it's the prospect fatigue. when you hear generational talent, when you hear for 2 years that the guy is going to be the guy, and I look at recent history, I heard for a bunch of years Andrew Luck was supposed to be the guy. I heard for a bunch of years Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be the guy. Andrew Luck was on his way to being the guy. He was awesome in Indianapolis, but his career was cut short due to injuries. For Trevor Lawrence, it was one bad year, you blame it on Urban Meyer, one good year, and then this past year he did regress, a lot of it because of an injury. So I just look recently at the two prospects, not that in 1 year took the biggest jump, but for multiple years, that's going to be the first overall pick of the draft whenever he's eligible to go to the draft. And in recent history, Andrew Luck did not end up working out, and neither did Trevor Lawrence. So I know people will pinpoint, oh, well, Caleb Williams, he paints his nails, and Caleb Williams, you wonder how he's going to relate in the locker room, and Jalen Johnson said you got to cut the Hollywood crap out and all that stuff. All right, if those are your concerns, like, I don't care. I don't think Caleb Williams should have painted bleep Utah on his nails, but that's not a reason why I wouldn't draft him. And don't get me wrong, Caleb Williams absolutely should be the first overall pick in this draft because of the need that the Chicago Bears have had forever at the quarterback position. But there is a little concern with Caleb Williams just because of recent history when I've seen guys be tabbed as the guy, and then even though they've had some good moments, they don't end up meeting the generational hype that was bestowed upon them. Jaden Daniels. Zach, you sat here for 2 months and you've implored your football team to hopefully be in a position, which they're now not, to get Jaden Daniels in the draft. I'm a huge fan of Jaden Daniels. The thing with Jaden Daniels, though, at Arizona State, he wasn't the quarterback that he was at LSU. And not only that, when he left Arizona State, I thought it was very bizarre. And I don't know, maybe this is like a draft day kind of reference. You know, his teammates didn't show up to Bo Callahan's birthday party. But it did feel weird to me. And I remember the videos when it was announced that Jaden Daniels was going into the transfer portal, where his Arizona State teammates went right to his locker and just stole all of his items in his locker. That was very Le'Veon Bell-like to me when Le'Veon Bell bailed out on the Steelers. And I just wondered if there was something more to that. But with Jaden Daniels, the big concern is just going to be able to stay healthy because he is a thinner person. Like, he is not a big hulking figure that we've seen from some of these mobile quarterbacks. But we all know the upside of Jaden Daniels. I've said it. He reminds me a lot like Lamar Jackson, except with a better arm. And that's no slight at Lamar Jackson. I've been one of the biggest supporters of Lamar Jackson. I thought it was ridiculous in the coverage of Lamar Jackson leading up to the NFL draft. But the appeal for Jaden Daniels is absolutely, this was a guy that had 1,100 rushing yards this past year and threw for 40 touchdowns. Drake May, what's my concern? Why don't I put him in the top 3 in terms of players that I trust the most in this draft? It's the difference from what people tell me what his floor could be to what his ceiling could be. His ceiling could be like Josh Allen. Yeah, sign me up for that. That would be excellent. But we've heard with some of these guys that have low floors and then high ceilings, a lot of times for every Josh Allen, there's a Trey Lance or there's a Zach Wilson. So that is a concern. J.J. McCarthy, I know he's a winner everywhere he goes. I know they did not ask him to be a stud and throw the football 30, 35 times a game, but we haven't seen him really do that. Do I believe in J.J. McCarthy's athleticism? Do I believe that J.J. McCarthy has a better arm than what people think? Yes. But I don't think J.J. McCarthy has a ceiling of being a Hall of Fame elite quarterback in this league. I don't think J.J. McCarthy is one of those guys where you're talking about him in the same breath as the great elite quarterbacks right now, like a Patrick Mahomes, like a Joe Burrow, like a Josh Allen. Or can J.J. McCarthy even be a C.J. Stroud? I know that J.J. McCarthy beat the snot out of C.J. Stroud in college, but C.J. Stroud looks like a totally different player than what he was in college compared to what he's now done in the NFL. And then you have Michael Penix Jr., who Michael Penix Jr., Stu, I think he's going to your Raiders. I do. I would like to see Michael Penix Jr. go to the Seahawks because, his offensive coordinator from college is now out there. And not only that, you look at a good landing spot for him. Geno Smith, his story was 2 years ago. I know they traded for Sam Howell. That doesn't really move the needle for me. And I think Sam Howell could be solid, but do I ever think he's going to be a great quarterback in this league? Absolutely not. But I look at Michael Penix Jr., just how I look at Drake May and J.J. McCarthy, where those guys land will really dictate where their careers are. Like, I believe you could put Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels in a bunch of different spots, and they have the ability to be elite on their own. But for McCarthy, Penix, and May, where they land is essential. And if you could put Penix on a team with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, and in a backfield of promising backs and Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, that's enough for Michael Penix Jr. to succeed in the NFL. So I'm not trashing the quarterbacks, but I have some individual concerns with all 5 quarterbacks. Obviously more with some than others. But the reason why I said the 3 players I trust the most in this draft are Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, and Joe Alt. Well, these are the reasons. I saw Marvin Harrison Jr. this past year with Kyle McCord. No disrespect to Kyle McCord. But Kyle McCord was not a great quarterback. There's a reason why Kyle McCord left Ohio State and is now going to be the quarterback at Syracuse. And Marvin Harrison Jr., there were so many games where you could tell, even if he didn't have the best quarterback, he was by far and away the best player on his team. And you look back at that Michigan-Ohio State game, which I was at, and I had a few beers in the parking lot, a few Jello shots, a few tequila shots as well. And even with my state of mind for that game, it's crazy that Ohio State only got the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. 4 or 5 times, and he still had like 110 or 120 receiving yards, and they should have thrown him the ball more because he was the only reason they were in that game. And I know football lineage isn't make or break, but it is important, his football lineage with who his father was at the same position. And as much as I like Malik Neighbors and as much as I like Rome Odunze, and I'll talk about Rome Odunze in a second, I think if you watch the games this year and you look at those situations, we all know who was playing with the worst quarterback. And Marvin Harrison Jr. still was a Heisman Trophy finalist. So I have no doubts that you could plug Marvin Harrison Jr. anywhere and he'll be great. I quite frankly think he is the best player in this draft. And if you said, Zach, you got to throw a large sum of money on one player to one day don a Hall of Fame jacket from this draft class, without hesitation, it would be Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, for Rome Odunze, I don't know if he will be elite. I don't. But I know bare minimum, he's going to be really damn good. I think Rome Odunze is a consummate professional. I don't think Rome Odunze is going to be one of the wide receivers that is bitching about targets in a game that they win if, let's say, someone else is getting fed the ball more. But look at what Odunze did and his big physical frame this past year at Washington. I love Rome Odunze. And I think just Rome Odunze, when you look back at his career, he will be a guy that will easily be a 6 or 7 time Pro Bowl wide receiver. You know, sometimes wide receivers, it's always tough to determine if they'll be Hall of Famers or not. And there's always like a log jam and a pileup at that position. But I'm just a big believer of not only Rome Odunze, the football player, but Rome Odunze, the human being as well. And Joe Alt, he's 6'9". Think about that. And not only that, he's athletic. You heard him with us the other day. He played quarterback. He played wide receiver. He played tight end. He played linebacker before settling in on the offensive line. And he comes from a family where his father was inducted into the Chiefs Hall of Fame. His brother played ice hockey. And throughout the year, you knew he was the best offensive lineman in the country. And Stu could tell you this, watching Notre Dame football, everyone raved about Joe Alt for the last 2 years. And I still don't think, with how late he got to the offensive line position, even though it's in his DNA and even though it's in his bloodstream, I still don't think we've seen the best version of Joe Alt. But I think you can put him at left tackle. I think you can put him at right tackle. And even though he is a enormously tall human being, his athleticism should not be forgotten in this case. So yes, I know that these won't be the first 3 players off the board. I fully understand that. The first 3 picks off the board are going to be quarterback, quarterback, quarterback. We know Caleb Williams going 1 to the Bears. And I hope for the Bears fans' sake, Caleb Williams is as good as advertised. Because that's a fan base that they deserve a franchise quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years. Jaden Daniels is the right pick at 2 for the Washington Commanders. I do believe my team will take phone calls, but I think my team will end up selecting Drake May. So yes, the first 3 picks of this draft will be quarterbacks. But right now, the 3 players I'm most confident in are Marvin Harrison Jr., are Rome Odunze, and then also Joe Alt, the offensive lineman out of Notre Dame. Who are the players that you're most confident in for this NFL draft? 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. We'll take a time out on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. When we return, the future of the Cincinnati Bengals. A few days ago, wouldn't have been a big concern. Now, some people are finally starting to doubt the Cincinnati Bengals, but I'm not one of them. We'll tell you why next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, that's right, boys and girls. It is the Infinity Sports Network. This is the Zach Gelb Show. 2 pieces of information from Adam Schefter. One, who gives a rat's ass about. The other, pretty significant, if I may say so myself. Here is the non-story. Marvin Harrison Jr. has yet to sign a preliminary NFLPA licensing agreement that all draftees typically sign, which would allow his name and likeness to be monetized after he's picked tonight and before the NFL contract is signed, per source. So his jersey will not be made available for purchase, and he will not be featured in video games until his NFLPA group licensing deal is signed. So I don't understand why you wouldn't sign this. I think this is my first concern that I've had about Marvin Harrison Jr. Is there a way? Because he can't use the Colts, or not the Colts, I'm thinking of his dad, but he can't use whichever team he gets drafted by. So let's say it's the Cardinals. He can't use like the Cardinals logo and then try to sell his own jersey with his name on it. I don't know what he's trying to do here. Is he just trying to, let's say, he's 18 in the NFL. Is he just trying to create these random 18 jerseys for Marvin Harrison Jr. and just sell them on himself? I don't think that would be a pretty smart idea, but that is bizarre that has not gone down that way. Now, here's the other piece of information. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, according to Adam Schefter, underwent back surgery 3 weeks ago, has recovered well, but it remains uncertain whether he will be able to offer his patented draft day hugs. It is a draft time decision. That is going to be very unfortunate because I always love, now it's really not Goodell hugging someone, but I love when the players do like a chest bump or they pick up Goodell like he's a rag doll and throw him around. Like, I don't know, Samter, about you, but if I was drafted in the NFL, I would almost, because assuming I'd be an offensive or defensive lineman, I would get in a 3-point stance when I'm coming across that stage and I'm running, I would say 1,000 miles per hour, but I don't run 1,000 miles per hour. And I'm running, I'm trying to take out the commissioner. That would be me. But I think we're going to have a lot of awkward bro hugs tonight because now this news is out there, and I don't think the players in the moment are going to be worried about Roger Goodell's back, but Roger Goodell's going to be worried about his back. Like, let's say you have Joe Alt, who's 6'9", and he comes out on the stage after getting selected by, let's say, the Tennessee Titans, and he goes and picks up Roger Goodell. That's not good if you just had back surgery 3 weeks ago. I think they may have to put like Goodell, maybe they bring out his big comfy chair once again. Remember the pandemic, he had that for a commissioner with his salary, probably should have had a nicer chair. But hey, it looked like an old, comfy, reliable chair. Maybe they kind of like put him on a pedestal tonight, and you have him with that chair, and he just kind of does like some fist bumps, because that seems like a health issue.
I mean, could they wrap him in bubble wrap? Just like having like a suit. You know, like
That's
all these
embarrassing,
players have like these blinged out suits. Just have Roger Goodell come out in bubble wrap. That'd
Don't
be great.
touch me.
Now here's the other question. You're talking about like straight up tackling Roger Goodell.
Take him out.
Here's a question. Let's say a player who just like maybe doesn't like Roger Goodell or whatever.
Well, the college guys have no reason to dislike Roger.
No, not yet. But like maybe there's a guy or two who just like, you know, sees negatively about things about Roger Goodell.
Yeah.
What do you think the punishment would be for a guy who actually like went up there and like hurt Goodell?
I don't think there's any punishment in the moment, but the first time you have some sort of infraction off the field, you're getting a severe punishment because the commissioner never will forget that.
I think if you tackle Goodell or you hurt Goodell on that stage, you're getting suspended for at least the first 6 games of the season.
Pretty stupid, by the way.
That's what you said that you were going to do.
No, I'm not saying what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
But I'm saying it's pretty stupid, by the way. And I don't know his medical history, right? There is HIPAA laws, obviously. But pretty stupid that you need back surgery and you wait until 3 weeks ago to get it, and you know now that you're at a job where people are going to be picking you up and throwing you around. Roger Goodell, you couldn't hold out here for 3 more weeks to get the back surgery?
Yeah, you probably could have held out because you couldn't do it earlier. You had the owners' meetings and everything like that. So you couldn't hold out till later. But listen, I'm sure he
But why
planned
not?
it.
Why couldn't he hold out later? You wait until after the draft.
No, I'm sorry. You couldn't have done it earlier is what I meant. No, but the other part is we just don't know. Listen, he has
I love how serious Santa's taking this conversation.
He has multi-million, billion-dollar, TV
State-of-the-art
rights
doctors.
TV rights things to negotiate. Who knows what other kinds of things he has going on over the next few weeks? Him hugging a couple guys coming onto stage. What is it? 15 guys at most who were in the green room. Him hugging 15 guys is not going to dictate, his entire offseason.
I also wonder who's the green room fall. That's another big thing.
Oh, that's the big thing every year.
Like the most iconic one in my lifetime was Aaron Rodgers, where he didn't go 1 and then he fell all the way down into the 20s.
And then he threatened the 49ers basically afterwards.
Yeah,
they're going to regret it.
But
and they kind of did.
Until you get to some of those championship games in recent years when Rodgers was with the Packers going up against the 49ers.
Sure, and listen, I love Alex Smith, but
Sure.
Alex Smith or Aaron Rodgers, I think it's pretty simple to say.
Oh, you'd rather take Alex Smith, you're saying? No, obviously you'd rather take Aaron Rodgers. But
my former quarterback.
But here's the thing. With Aaron Rodgers and the green room fall, at least he went in the first round. Like last year, Will Levis, this is why I don't buy any of these stupid odds. Like, oh, the odds are moving up. Will Levis was like the odds-on favorite for a little bit to be the 2nd overall pick, like the day before the draft. At one point, the number 1 overall pick. And no one ever believed he was going to be the first quarterback off the board. No one ever believed he was going to be the second quarterback off the board. But the odds shifted that way. And he fell, not only like fell out of the top 10, he fell out of the first round, period. Like, that's humiliating. I don't know about you. Let's say if you're a fringe first round guy, or like you're projected to go like 2024, somewhere in that range, 20 to 25, 32 picks in the first round. Would you go to the draft with the possibility that maybe you were being over-evaluated and overestimated on where you were going to pick, and then you fall out of the first round?
I mean, maybe. This year it's in Detroit, so maybe I'm not dying to go to Detroit.
What's wrong with Detroit?
Detroit's fine, but
Go get some Zingermans.
2 years ago it was Kansas City.
tie.
The delicious barbecue. 2 years ago it was Vegas. So like
You're saying Vegas a little bit better location than Detroit?
I think so. For years there's New York City, so like it was a destination type of thing. Like the Pro Bowl used to be in Hawaii. Guys would go to the Pro Bowl because they wanted to go to Hawaii, all expense paid vacation. Now that it's not there, it's not as enticing to go, to do it anymore. So maybe the experience of going to the draft, sitting in the green room with other guys, while you're there, you get to glad hand, network, kiss babies, shake hands, talk to some other GMs who maybe down the road when your contract is up with this team, you might be able to sign a new contract because you met so-and-so on draft night. So there is a value there for sure. And I'm sure there's plenty of PR people and brand agents and all these different other kind of things.
Didn't Will Levis's girlfriend also dump him after that, shortly after that? I kind of remember something along those lines.
Oh, maybe once he wasn't a first-round pick, She's like, I'll latch myself onto somebody else.
I happen to enjoy my conversations with Will Levis on and off the air, but mayo in the coffee.
That was a gag.
Not taking the peel off the banana.
Another gag.
I don't know. I don't know if you want to live with that person necessarily.
I think Will Levis just knows how to troll the media. All that was nonsense.
Also, let's continue this. Favorite draft memories. First off, I would go to the draft. Even if I wasn't a lock first-round pick, I would go. I think it's fun. I'd probably wear sweatpants and a sweatshirt. I think you want to stand out that way instead of doing like some flashy suit. I would try to tackle the commissioner. But the memories that I have with the draft, I still think nothing is better than the Laramie Tunsil gas mask. That whole story where Laramie Tunsil has the gas mask, today that would be no issue. People wouldn't be freaking out, but it did make him fall a few picks. Gronk with his family was pretty damn good, and there was a piece that was really put out there, and someone was like, Gronk was saying, Belichick was probably like, why the heck did we draft this guy? And Belichick was like, yeah, someone tell Gronkowski to get off the stage, which is awesome when he was just celebrating with his family. CeeDee Lamb, when his girl took his phone and he snatched it right back. And I want to say this guy was a bust. I'm pretty sure it was him. Remember the lineman Isaiah Wilson with Tennessee, and then he was in Miami. He had so many off the field problems. I guess his girlfriend was on his lap as the cameras went to him, and the mother comes in and he yanks the girlfriend like out of the camera shot, basically saying, this isn't your moment. Like, I always thought it was a nice, sweet shot, right? I'm pretty sure it was Isaiah Wilson with his girlfriend. She's sitting on his lap, like, oh, nice couple, pretty cool. And the mother just drags her right out of the TV shot. So those are some of my favorite memories that I do remember.
So my favorite moment is also my least favorite moment. I used to go to the draft all the time when it was at when it was
Radio
here in
City?
New York. When it was at Radio City, I would go to the draft every year. Actually, it used to be at MSG.
Now, time out. Did you, just yes or no, did you enjoy going to the draft?
I mean, I was a kid. I was 15, 16. I loved it. It was so much fun,
Because
especially as a Jets fan, because it was like a home game for Jets fans.
It is amazing how and it shows you the power of the NFL, what the draft has become. Because we have gone the last 2-3 years, 2 years, and how many people show up to just see a commissioner walk to the podium and announce the pick, and then you got to wait 10 minutes in between every pick. It's mystifying to me. I understand the power of the NFL, but unless if I was going for work, I don't think I would enjoy like getting drunk with my buddies and going to the draft. Personally, I wouldn't. But go ahead. Give me your story.
We had the best time. So the one for me was 95. It was at MSG, the Paramount Theater, before the NFL took it away from MSG, since Dolan blocked the Jets from building that West Side Stadium. But back in 95, I was a Jets fan, all decked out in my Jets gear. We had the 9th pick, and somehow Warren Sapp, who everyone thought was going to be the number 1 pick, kept sliding because he smoked weed or tested positive for weed, and he kept sliding and sliding and sliding. We get to 9. The whole place is all Jets fans, and we're all chanting, "We want Sapp! We want Sapp!" The place has erupted with Sapp chants. It was amazing. We just knew we were definitely going Sapp. We knew we needed a defensive lineman. It was like a dream come true. And then they get up to the podium with the number 9 pick.
Kyle Brady, right?
The New York Jets select tight end, and then they said tight end, and the whole place goes, no sound. Dead silence. You could hear a pin drop. Tight end, Penn State, Kyle Brady. And the shock was there for like a good 3 or 4 seconds where we were all like, what the hell did they just say? And then we just booed. And we ended up getting Hugh Douglas later in the first round, who ended up being good.
Yeah.
But by that point, we didn't care. The place erupted. We thought we were going to riot.
Famer.
Yes. And we went with Kyle freaking Brady. It was one of the worst draft moments in history, but because it was in New York and all Jets fans there, it was one of the most powerful, passionate, exciting moments I've ever been a part of.
Who was the player that your team drafted? Let's go around the room. And Stu's probably has a laundry list.
Yeah, do you have time?
Who was the player that your team drafted that you were certain that player was going to be a stud, was going to be great, and they ended up being just terrible? I think I could guess, Stu. But go ahead, so I want you to relive the pick.
I mean, I thought Jamarcus Russell was going to be generational quarterback.
Yeah.
I thought he was.
It's a fair assessment.
Yeah, and he was not.
Didn't even read or watch the film and the playbook and all that. Samter, who's yours?
Oh, man. I thought D-Brick would be a little bit better than he was.
DeBrickashaw Ferguson?
Yeah, he was good.
He was good.
He was good. But
What are you talking about?
He was the fourth.
He was a good player.
He was the 4th overall pick. He was not.
You know how many bums your team has drafted? He's the farthest thing from a
I thought
bum.
D-Brick was going to be the
is
anchor.
even laughing right now. Ack knows how stupid of a statement that is.
I thought D-Brick was going to be a generational tackle that we just plugged in there for 15 years, multiple All-Pros. He made a couple.
Very good player.
But my expectation was he was going to be like Hall of Fame caliber. I think he made like 2 Pro Bowls, maybe 3, which is fine. But with the 4th overall pick, I thought he was going to be a legendary
3-time
player.
Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
He's in the Jets Ring of Honor. Samter picks a guy that's in
Very
the
good
Jets
player.
Ring of Honor.
Yeah, but my expectation was so
you're
much
wrong.
more. My expectation was so much more. I thought he was going to be amazing.
Do you
I
know
thought
how
he was
many
going to be the greatest.
scrubs you guys have recently?
Yeah, but here's the thing. As a Jet fan, a lot of times I didn't think that the pick would pan out because
Sam Darnold?
Yeah, but I also, even at that moment, I was like, I don't like Sam Darnold here. We've been beat up by so many draft picks that I never got my hopes up for any of the draft picks because we've been beat up so bad by draft picks. So like Dwayne Robertson, when we traded up to get him, I thought
You didn't think Vernon Golston was going to be damn good?
No, I hated that. Oh, I hated the Vernon Golston move.
That was the one for
I
me.
hated
As
it.
a Pats fan, I was miserable when the Pats were right behind him and you guys selected Vernon
There
Golston.
haven't been a lot of guys that we drafted early on that I was really excited about because we've been burned so early. D. Milliner wasn't that excited about, and we were burned. Calvin Pryor, I kind of liked, but no.
You
There
said
hadn't been-
DeBrickashaw Ferguson.
Yeah.
When you called him D. Brick at first, I'm like, oh, maybe there's some other guy.
No.
I was like, what the heck are you talking about? For me, it had to be Chad Jackson, 2nd-round pick out of Florida. But with Brady winning a few Super Bowls, everyone's like, oh, Chad Jackson's going to be amazing. He's going to be a stud. And that was one of the players that I remember that just was like a bad run of wide receivers that the Patriots were selecting that just never panned out. So for me, it was Chad Jackson. By the way, the future of the Cincinnati Bengals. Trey Hendrickson requested a trade. T. Higgins has requested a trade. People are now going to panic with the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not one of them. You still have Joe Burrow. Just keep him upright. A concern. You still have Jamar Chase. You'll hammer out a new deal for him. Trey Hendrickson really has no leverage here. He has 2 years left on his contract. This year and next year, he's not a free agent until 2026. I say suck it up. Too bad to him. And then for T. Higgins, that's a name that you could possibly see get traded tonight or tomorrow because he's on the franchise tag. But I don't think Cincinnati should do it. I think you maybe have to deal with some of the contentious relationships and you deal with it for one more year unless a team blows you away with an offer and you could get a wide receiver. But, we saw what happened with A.J. Brown and then Treylon Burks and all that. I don't know if that's a smart idea, but you could do that if you get a first-round pick or an early second-round pick. But with the Super Bowl window that you still have and you could be a Super Bowl team this year, I would make sure that you just tell both those guys, hey, you guys signed contracts. Maybe you sweeten the pot a little bit with some extra money, but we're not going to trade you. That would be my preference if I was a fan of the Cincinnati Bengals. But still, even if they lose one of them, you still got Burrow. You still got Chase, and as long as you have Burrow and Chase, you'll be a player for years and years to come as long as they can stay healthy. Are you concerned with the Celtics? We'll discuss next. First up with the latest Infinity Sports Network update, though, here he is, the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $750 on average. Call or click today to find out if they could save you hundreds on your car insurance. The unpredictability and star power available in this NFL draft has made it a must-see event. The first round takes place tonight in Detroit. About the only certainty is the Bears will open the night by selecting USC quarterback Caleb Williams with the number 1 pick. The Commanders have the 2nd pick. The Patriots are 3rd, and all are expected to take quarterbacks. Lots of day baseball today. A Gary Sanchez home run has given the Brewers a 7-5 lead over the Pirates now in the bottom of the 9th. The Guardians with a 5-4 lead over the Red Sox In the bottom of the 7th, Edouard Julien with a pair of home runs, and the Twins lead the White Sox 6-2 in the top of the 9th. Bottom of the 9th, the Phillies trying to close out the Reds, leading by a score of 5-0. The Royals have a 2-1 lead over the Blue Jays. Top of the 6th, it's the Astros 1, Cubs 0, bottom 5. Mariners and Rangers even at 2, top 5. And the Rockies out to an early 1-0 lead over the Padres, top 2. I'm Rich Eck.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
This portion of the show, the Zach Gelb Show, is sponsored by the new Hyundai Tucson, available with complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Now, it's easy to use your phone to control your Tucson. A buddy of mine the other day actually bought a Hyundai Tucson, so looking forward to getting in that mobile and stealing it from him probably, right? 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. I think everyone's trying to fatten me up today. People are like in the mood today to eat like pigs because it's the NFL draft. Because like during the football season, Saturday you eat like a fat pig for college football, and then Sunday you eat like a fat pig for the NFL. So I think since we have an NFL event tonight, that people are just like in the mood of trying to fatten everybody up. There was pizza here, and I was in the newsroom. I was going to get a cup of coffee before the show, and I see the pizza. I'm like, oh, it's free pizza. I'll take a slice. And I'll eat a slice of pizza. There was also like a big bagel spread as well, but I just had the pizza. So I had one slice of pizza. Then Bill Ryder from Ryder Than You right here on the Infinity Sports Network. He's in town. He usually does the show out in L.A., and Bill's in town, and Bill's around the office, and he walks over to the pizza the company brought. He's like, I'm in New York. You know, that looks like solid pizza. I feel like I get better pizza. And I said, you're not wrong. I said, there's actually a place 4 minutes from our work. It's called the Industry Pizza. I said, you got to go. I said, place is a zoo. It's great pizza. You got to go. So Bill goes, and Bill is a mensch, right? So Bill goes, and he goes, hey, you told me about this pizza place. I wanted to bring you a slice back. So then I just had 2 slices of pizza. The one that the company gave us and the one that Bill just got from one of my favorite pizza places ever. And it's only 3:47 in the afternoon. And I know tonight, because the draft is like a big event. It's a huge event. And the last 2 years, I've been at the drafts, Vegas, and then also Kansas City. And I was doing the draft show, so I'm not sitting there eating like a fat pig. But I know tonight I'm going to eat like a fat pig. But I wasn't expecting the appetizers here to be 2 slices of pizza. Tonight, Stu, what are you eating for the draft? Just wondering. What are you ordering? Are you having like a big man's type of meal tonight?
Not like that kind of a meal. We have pork chops that we have to make, so they are being made tonight.
Okay, but that's good.
Yeah, it's not like a fast food, pizza, wings type of thing, but it's a nice pork chop dinner.
No, but you tell me you get a pork chop to go watch the draft. I'm good with that.
All right, awesome.
All right, Samter, what are you cooking up tonight? What do you got?
Probably some matzah.
You're right. I've been about you, I guess, in the last 2 hours.
Matzah and some maybe some blue cheese to dip in. I don't know, something kosher.
Okay, so you're gonna go matzah with blue cheese,
or maybe some chicken, maybe like a matzah chicken.
Maybe matzah with hump. Why don't you do matzah bread tonight? Right. Soak the matzah. You got a little pepper on that.
I got a little matzah farfel at home. Some gefilte fish, maybe.
Yeah, most people have no clue listening what the heck you're talking about.
Oh, gefilte fish is, imagine
disgusting.
A hot dog, but it's fish.
No, it's disgusting.
Yeah, it's basically you just take a bunch of fish and you grind it up like, canned tuna, and then you like mush it into a fish meatball. That's gefilte fish.
I honestly despise gefilte fish.
Oh, it's amazing. I love it.
Gefilte fish is gross. My mom makes a great spinach matzo pie, which is just to die for. The brisket's always good. This year, I forget what it was. They made some dish with pastrami in it, and it was sensational. I'm debating tonight, and I think the 2 slices just messed me up. Because, like, before I was going to go to the local diner and I was going to go get a cheesesteak. They make a good cheesesteak at the local diner with fries. Now I'm kind of think I'm going to pivot to wings because I just got like a good base. You get the wings and the blue cheese now. That's what I think I'm going to do tonight. I think I'm going to go on wings and blue cheese, especially I was very annoyed yesterday. Joe Alt. See, that's my biggest red flag on Joe Alt. He says he likes ranch over blue cheese for his wings. I couldn't find a flaw with Joe Alt before this draft process until that answer yesterday. I know I just led the show with saying he's one of the 3 prospects that I trust the most, but that's not the second prospect that I've loved that now I have trust issues with. Joe Alt and then Chris Jenkins, too. Chris Jenkins. Samter, one of our favorite human beings to ever join us here on the Infinity Sports Network.
Such an infectious personality, man.
He is awesome. He is fun. He's
I
just
loved his
a
dad,
good
too.
dude.
He was on the Jets for a bit, and he was good.
Yeah. And his dad
Panthers,
more
of course.
memorable for the Panthers,
Yeah.
But when he said ranch over blue cheese, I was like, dude.
I fell in love with him even more, man.
This relationship that Chris Jenkins and I were like kind of brewing up here, where we were being like big time friends, it's over with.
I think it's time for you to change, buddy.
No, ranch is disgusting.
Ranch is amazing. You listen. You're living in 1986.
Hey Stu, can you do me a favor? Can you rewind the show about like 3 minutes ago when Samter said he was going to dip his matzah into blue cheese? Notice how he didn't say ranch. All right,
Ranch isn't kosher.
is it what?
No.
How is it not kosher?
The ranch, so it's buttermilk and the
Are you being
ranch
serious?
seasoning. Yeah, the ranch seasoning isn't kosher.
Oh, I had no clue.
You might be able to find kosher ranch, but it's disgusting.
Gotcha.
Blue cheese is just cheese.
I had gluten-free matzah the other night.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it tasted normal. Couldn't tell the difference.
Listen, like, there's no
matzah.
point in having gluten-free matzah because, like, you have gluten-free foods that would become kosher for Passover because there's no yeast or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, matzah already is kosher, so why would you want gluten-free? It makes no sense.
All righty, let's get to the Well, one of my friends at the Seder was gluten-free. That's why he needed
Yeah, like, if health-wise you have to have, lack of gluten, I
Yes.
get it, but otherwise, no reason.
So let me get to the Celtics. The Celtics are going to beat the Miami Heat. They're going to win this series. This series, at most, will go to 6 games. But I'm concerned with the Boston Celtics. Like, I don't think the Boston Celtics are winning the championship this year. They could get to the NBA Finals, but if they get to the NBA Finals, I don't see them beating Denver. And if somehow, some way Denver doesn't get there, whoever beats Denver, I'll put my money on them to win the NBA Finals over the Boston Celtics. Like, I look at the East. Milwaukee doesn't have Giannis healthy. The Knicks are good. I don't think the Knicks are going to be great. The Sixers, they're down 2-0. Maybe they win 1 game at home, but they're going to go back to Madison Square Garden down 3-1. I'm not going to trust Indiana, out of the East. You just look at the Eastern Conference. The Celtics should get there. But I know the Heat last night, they just shot a ridiculous rate at 3. They made 23 3-pointers in the game, which you do that, you're going to win. When you also then shoot 49.3% from the field. But that's a game last night where the Boston Celtics just kind of remind you, hey, we're still the old Boston Celtics, and I'm not talking about your grandfather's Boston Celtics. I'm talking about the Boston Celtics of the last few years where one night they look like, okay, that's a team that's going to take care of Miami very easily. No Jimmy Butler in this series. And then a few nights later in game 2, they lose a game like that. And I think that was a reminder why, even though all throughout the year the Celtics had this great record, they're 64-18, they the number 1 seed by 14, 15 games in the Eastern Conference, everyone was like, yep, Celtics look great, but let's see if they could get over the hump. And for them, getting over the hump is hoisting another Larry O'Brien trophy. Because as good as this group's been, and this group overachieved early on, they should now be in a spot where they have one championship trophy with this group, and they don't. And a loss like that last night just as a reminder, Celtics, when you want to buy in on them and you want to think that this could be this year, they give you a reminder, do not trust us. I've said this all throughout the year, Nuggets or bust. I think the Nuggets win the championship, and I believe that it will be Denver going up against Boston. But I'll reiterate this once again. If someone takes down Denver in the West, I don't care if it's the Clippers, I don't care if it's the Mavericks, Thunder, Timberwolves, like whoever it is, whoever takes down Denver, I would then pick them over the Celtics because I'd be so much more impressed by that team taking down Denver than anything the Celtics could do in the build-up to get to the NBA Finals. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Andrew Perloff, I believe he is in the building. The host of the Maggie and Perloff Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network. We will have a comprehensive draft breakdown with Perloff next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Yo, hour number 2 of our radio program. That's right. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network. And now joining me in studio, I don't know how this guy is doing it. He's doing 2-a-days, man. He's a tough guy. That, of course, is Andrew Perloff, the host of the Maggie and Perloff Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network. We're going to do a lot of draft breakdown right here, my friend.
I love it. Last year, of course, we were live during the draft. I got to be honest. I'm not sad I'm not in Detroit right now. It looks cold.
It looks miserable.
It looks miserable. And, I do like being at the draft, but to me, it doesn't have the juice of a Super Bowl or anything because the players are being on a really strict schedule. You don't have access to them, and a lot of the power brokers are off at the facilities. So I was a little sad not going to Detroit this year, but I don't miss it. Like I kind of am looking forward to watching it on TV.
I kind of think it's a little loserville. I know this is going to be a not so popular opinion, unpopular opinion. I was just saying this. When work sends us, we go to the draft. When they don't send us, I'm not miserable because I couldn't see myself as a fan going to the NFL draft to watch the commissioner just call out names.
Oh, now we're getting into a real topic. Because we have several coworkers who've been at the draft as fans, and some are.
That's not a good endorsement.
So, do you know Gio does Boomer and Gio in the morning? Apparently, there's a video of him in Vikings gear pointing to his watch because the Ravens handed in their pick late. Oh, yeah. And, of course, I have a friend who's a draft writer, Tony Pauline.
I've trashed Tony a little bit recently.
There's one where, I totally get that. There's one where he's a Jets fan who's screaming about the Kyle Brady pick. Oh, so a lot of media members have been caught on NFL films. So you could never face paint and wear a jersey and go out there and do all that?
By the way, no, I couldn't. But have you been missing a hockey puck, by the way?
What? You have my hockey puck?
Yeah, right here. You want your hockey puck?
Oh, this was a night.
This was a very fun night when we went to the game, which it was like a dance concert before you even get to the game. But your hockey puck, I saw it on the floor here in the studio, and I put it up behind my shoulder, and there's now someone in the YouTube chat that has changed their name to Perloff's Puck. And there was a big debate behind the scenes in the YouTube chat. It was, is that Gelb's puck or is it Perloff's puck?
No, it's mine.
And it was yours.
Yeah, I don't remember how I got it, but...
I remember how you got it. I was sitting right next to you.
Sully gave it to me.
Sully knows everyone in Vegas, and they gave him a puck, and he goes, hey, McLovin, here you go.
Yeah. Sully, our common friend. That is the day that I fell in love with Connor McDavid. I was like, I'm going to watch every Edmonton game from now on.
You haven't watched one since?
No.
It took you that long to realize that the guy that they called McJesus was that good at hockey.
Dude, I'm like, why does that one guy look like he's playing with children? And this was a lot of good players on the ice.
But
that was crazy.
If the Flyers didn't choke away their season, Perloff would have been all flyered up with the orange face paint, and he would have been the biggest Keith Jones and John Tortorella fan. We all know that.
Keith Jones of WIP, Spike Eskin's former coworker. I love but you know me. I was not sad when the Flyers lost at the end. I'm not sad that the Sixers are losing. You can't.
Are you going to game? If there is a game 5, you won't.
Yeah,
go
I
to
might be
game
going to game 5, but you can't get to me with basketball and hockey. You can get to me with football. Like, if the Eagles do something bad, it hurts my soul deeply.
Well, let me start you off with the Eagles, and then we'll preview the whole draft. We'll have fun doing this, obviously. Yeah. So, the Eagles, I have never turned on a team, just done a 180 in less than an entire offseason, half offseason, as quickly as I've done with Philadelphia.
What?
Like going into the offseason, I said to myself, there's nothing the Eagles could do, nothing that would get me to buy back in, because I was so down on Nick Sirianni when you start off 10-1 and he just lost the locker room. And that locker room was an absolute mess. And then, even though I didn't like that they traded away Hassan Reddick, you get Bryce Huff, you go get Saquon Barkley. The Cowboys say they're all in. Skip Bayless will tell you all in. Pause, my ass. And then you look around the rest of the NFC. Yeah, the 49ers are always going to be great, right? But outside of that, Lions are very good. Packers are solid. The Rams, they lose Aaron Donald. I'm back in on the Eagles.
Yeah.
I'm back in on them.
It's a weak conference. I 100% agree. So we've had a lot of Vic Fangio assistants as the defensive coaches. Mm-hmm. Now we got the real deal. I'm excited for that. Last year's offense was so plain. Anything that Kellen Moore tries is going to be a huge improvement.
I'm not a fan of Moore, though.
I got to tell you, it's so much better than Brian Johnson. It's going to be a definite improvement. Now, let me ask you this question, because I got in a big fight with somebody, with Saquon, I think it was EJ, our producer, EJ Stewart.
By the way, I've noticed this.
Yeah.
And I've always liked EJ.
Yeah.
EJ, when he first started working here, they put him on my show a lot. And EJ and I, we get along great. We go out Super Bowl. We go have good dinners. EJ, very surprisingly, when it comes to the food, this dude knows what he's talking about. I was impressed with his taste buds. A lot of times when I'm listening to your show, it's you and EJ going at it. Is there anything you guys agree on?
Nothing. I mean, he's like a Knicks fan to his core. He takes the millennial side. I take the Gen X side. It's just but he thinks Saquon Barkley is going to top Christian McCaffrey as the most productive all-around back. And I think that is nuts. Because you've watched the Eagles. There's you got to share the ball.
Too many mouths to feed.
A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and even with a new offensive coordinator, they have in their DNA, since Andy Reid was there, that you throw the ball all over the field. And Jalen Hurts also is going to run 10 times a game. There's no way Saquon's going to be a part-time guy.
Well, here's what I agree with you.
Yeah.
It adds a different element to their offense.
Yes.
But McCaffrey is the face of the Niners offense.
Yes.
Saquon Barkley will not be the face of the Eagles offense.
And also, I would worry if you use Saquon that much, he's going to get hurt. So here's let's get back
to be fair, that was a concern with McCaffrey when he did go over there, and they've been able to keep him healthy for the most part.
Let's get back to tonight for a second. There's such a glaring need with the Eagles. I mean, their defensive secondary is so awful that they definitely need to trade up. They need to trade up to get a quarterback. But if you look at the mock drafts, Daniel Jeremiah is good. He knows the Eagles better than pretty much anybody. He had them trading up to take a tackle because you know how Howie Roseman does it. He takes tackles again and again and again, but they really need a cornerback. I want Terrion Arnold. He's my choice. I would go up from where they are to
Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo?
For me, it's Arnold. I think he's more ready to go. Quinyon Mitchell, how do we know against real competition? I love Arnold. I mean, I watched a lot of Alabama this year because I'm a Jalen Milroe super fan, as Samter will tell you. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever does anything on Terrion Arnold. He's like a little Revis in college. He is shut down. I get him. He's more mature in the sense that he's played against these kind of guys. So I think if you get a little help in the secondary, the Eagles are back. They're back. Now, are they my favorite in the NFC? I'm more of a Niners-Lions guy.
I'm a Lions guy right now.
Oh, yeah, me too. I'm thinking Lions-Texans is like my early sexy pick. I know, but that's like just to sound cool.
No, but you know what's crazy?
Yeah.
I'm with you. So now we know that has no shot of happening.
I know. There was this video out. I'm sorry, we're going all over the place. You know that C.J. Stroud and Micah Parsons are doing draft coverage for Bleacher Report. And
with the Dream roster?
Yeah. And the Dream team. So
offense, defense, that was the exercise. It's 4th and 3 or ever. Who gets, do you get the first down or you get the stop was the exercise.
Right. Did you see who C.J. picked for his running back?
C.J. Stroud pick for his running. Oh, I did. Jahmyr Gibbs.
Jahmyr Gibbs. He is my favorite running back in a long time. He touches it. It's like a bolt of electricity.
And remember a year ago when that pick was made?
You and I. Remember our reactions?
Yeah. Wow. We knew there was one other running back that we knew was going to go early.
Well, Bijan went 8.
Bijan obviously. Duh. And I knew Jahmyr Gibbs was going to be a first-round pick, and I was a pro Jahmyr Gibbs guy.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's a reach for the Lions.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. There was an over-under.
At 12, I think.
Yeah, it was a 12. And then they took Jack Campbell, the linebacker, at 18, was bizarre. But then every week we do an over-under prop bet. And his longest run was at 14.5. He hit it 9 weeks in a row.
I made some good money on
everybody had that prop. Jahmyr Gibbs is awesome.
Anytime touchdowns, too.
Yeah,
good value.
So I have that crush on the Lions. I'm glad you have it, too. I think we think alike.
The only thing that concerns me is Goff is good. Usually good quarterbacks don't win Super Bowls. Great quarterbacks win Super Bowls. But we've been spoiled the last 15, 20 years.
He'll get you there. He's already gotten the Rams there. And they should have gotten there this year if Gibbs doesn't fumble the ball. Speaking of Gibbs, a couple plays here and there, the Lions are in. It's just their GM, I think a former Patriot guy, right? Brad Holmes. I think. Yeah, he's on fire right now. He's hit so many. That Sam Laporta pick last week.
He came over for the Rams, Brad Holmes. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah, I think it was the guy before.
Right. Yeah,
for the Lions. But anyway.
Anyway, he's really like draft pick. So I'm into them.
All right, let's do this. Andrew Perloff, obviously, in the studio with us. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We know Williams is going 1.
Yep.
We know Jaden Daniels is going 2.
Right.
Do you think, order-wise, Williams obviously is the right play at 1. Do you think Daniels is the right play at 2?
Oh, my God, yes. I actually think on a normal draft, Jaden Daniels would be number 1. Go back, if you want to get to know Jaden Daniels, watch the YouTube clip of all his throws against Alabama and all his throws against Ole Miss. Any criticism of it, I don't know where it's coming from. He's the most efficient passer in college football history. Like his rating, 208, the most ever. So he's an unbelievable passer, but he is a superior runner. There's no one who's ever going to catch him. The only thing is he's skinny and he could get hurt. I totally give you that.
That's the one concern.
But production, he can make every cliche, he can make every throw. He's going to be a great Rookie of the Year candidate in Washington.
I've said this yesterday, and I'm curious your thought on it. And people thought it was like me taking a shot at Lamar Jackson. I love Lamar Jackson. I feel like Jaden Daniels is Lamar Jackson just with a better arm.
Absolutely, because Lamar had an unorthodox throwing style coming into the NFL. Now, Lamar Jackson's arm is strong. I mean, it's developed. He's a
better thrower than people give him
and
credit
also
for.
He's got he could do power throws too.
Outside of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. Well, he actually threw for a lot of yards in that game. I mean, nothing else was working.
They should have ran him a lot more though in that game.
No, I know nothing else worked. He's just a more accurate passer than Lamar coming into the league. That being said, Lamar's obviously his stats are great. He's everything. If you watch the videos where he gets blown up on tackles, that's a real concern. So he's 6'3" and skinnier than me, and I'm skinny. If you're watching on YouTube,
and
he comes out there and just gets blown up.
Maybe it was with Kevin Hart in those cold tubs, and I saw him without a shirt on. And I'm like, I knew he was like frail, but he is really skinny. He's
really skinny. He got weighed in at 210, but there's a lot of people think, he put on like 8 pounds for that weigh-in at his pro day, so he's skinny. But they also said he might run a 4.3. Like, I don't know if that's true, but he is so fast. I love him. I actually seen on social. You're a fan too.
He's when the Pats were winning games late in the season.
Yeah,
because I was at the Heisman and I talked to him. And Herb Street went on McAfee, and he said Jaden Daniels is going to be the steal of the draft. Because at the time, he wasn't being projected to be a top 5 pick. And people wondered where he would fall, if he would fall in the first round. And I asked him about that, and I went back and watched that clip today. And I'm like, it's crazy that now he's going to be the second overall pick, but it's because of that upside.
Yeah.
He is more upside to me than Drake May, even though people say the ceiling for Drake May is so high because of the 1,100 rushing yards that he had this year, and then also the 40 passing touchdowns. So I wanted the Patriots to be at 2 and taking Jaden Daniels.
Right. If you're a defense going against Jaden Daniels, you can't play man-to-man because if you turn your back on him, he's gone. If he gets a lane like Lamar Jackson. So that gives you an extra either you have to go into a soft zone or you lose a blocker. It's great. It's all the mobile quarterback stuff. There was a guy in the middle of the season, Dusty Dvorak, ESPN.
Yeah.
It was maybe first week in October. I don't remember the game, but he said, I've watched Jaden Daniels, all the tape coming up. He is without a doubt the number 1 quarterback in this country, and no one's even close. This was in October, so I tweeted out that quote. People said, you are insane. There's no way he's better than Caleb Williams or Drake May. He wasn't. He was like the 4th-round prospect coming into this. Because last year, he was nothing. Nobody was talking about him. You're right. It was around Heisman time that you first heard a whiff, but I think it's just the NFL teams obviously saw it earlier.
Where are you at, by the way, with Caleb Williams? Because soon you're going to be in a car driving to San Antonio because you were going against the grain with Victor Wembanyama. So are you out on Caleb Williams or are you all in on Caleb Williams?
All in. Maggie and I, that's all our show today was fighting about Caleb Williams. She is reasonably skeptical, saying that you can't guarantee any pick. I'm guaranteeing this one. I mean, what can he not do? He's so good, and this is.
But do you actually believe this?
I do.
Or, because I know how your brain works, you're very good friends with Big Cat from Barstool, so I'm thinking to myself, you and Big Cat, you don't want to be fighting when you two are rubbing elbows at all these rich, fancy people places.
It's not that. I since Big Cat moves to Chicago, I don't talk to him a lot, but his enthusiasm about Caleb Williams is one of the most contagious things in sports. He's so high on him. But also, so Caleb Williams is awesome. But has there ever been the number one overall pick who went to a 7-10 team with 2 Pro Bowl receivers and DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, and maybe they get another one tonight at number 9 or lower? This is a great spot.
There could be a wide receiver available there.
Definitely.
Probably a Dunze. But like,
unless
if I'm Atlanta, let's say Neighbors or a Dunze. Marvin Harris Jr. to me is the best player. In this draft. I think he'll go to the Cardinals at 4.
Right.
I personally like a Dunze over Neighbors, but a lot of these mock drafts will tell you Neighbors going to go in front of a Dunze. A Dunze, if he's there, or Neighbors at 8 with the Falcons, I'm taking him instead of going defense.
But everyone's going to say, oh my gosh, another skill position player for the Falcons.
Who cares? You have Drake London, Bijan Robinson,
Kyle Pitts.
Plug in another receiver there for Kirk Cousins.
Well, okay, here's one thing. In some smart mocks, I have the Giants taking Rome Odunze over Malik Neighbors.
Okay.
Now, I think actually, and if Malik Neighbors is there for Atlanta, he is very tempting. I'm not sure Odunze is as tempting. They need something on defense. I mean, everyone has Dallas Clark, the Alabama defensive end. Dallas Turner, the Iowa, the Indianapolis Colts Hall of Famer. Everyone has them. Now, if Malik Neighbors is there, I like it, but come on, dude, you can't take a skill position 4 years in a row.
The Falcons have a good secondary. They could improve their pass rush, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why guys like Turner or Verse, or even I saw this Latu from UCLA is rising up the draft boards.
Dude, well, right. If you think he's kind of healthy, retire with it. You ever watch a UCLA game? Nobody scores on either side of the ball.
I had spite with UCLA the last few years because of Chip Kelly. Refused to watch him.
I was watching one of my favorite. I have these little favorites. Cam Ward on Washington State. Mm-hmm. I was watching him, and he's playing
Incarnate Word. He was at.
Yeah,
he was a no-star recruit.
Yeah, I could go see him in San Antonio. Incarnate Word. Anyway, he was playing against Latu, and Latu gave him about 3/4 of a second to throw on every play. He would just come and he would do something with his body to get around. He is insane. The medicals, though, could drop him. In all seriousness, an NFL player had a neck injury, stepped out of the sport, said he was retiring, came back. So if he falls, then that's the only reason, because he's a great player.
All right, we'll take a break. We still got a lot more to do. When we come on back, we know what picks 1 and 2 are going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be Caleb Williams. It's going to be Jaden Daniels. What will the Patriots do? Where is Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, Michael Penix going to land? And also, still to come, Perloff has a list. It's 5 guys
so
that you are in love with.
In love with. This is going to be my 5 against the grain specials.
Ooh. How about that?
Hello.
Okay. We don't need anything else to tease. Well, coming on back, it is the Zach Gelb Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show. Andrew Perloff in studio with us for this hour. All righty, Perloff, before we get to your 5 against the grain players for this draft, quarterbacks. Are you giving the answers to the test right now?
This is a top secret document that is written on the back of a Hyundai Tucson read that NFL teams would kill to get a hold of Zach. This is This is like when you go into a fantasy football draft and you have a cocktail napkin with like, gotta grab Arian Foster in the 7th round.
So we were talking about our worst draft takes ever.
Oh, I got an all-timer, but go ahead.
Mine was when I was a kid. The Patriots, they were traded in a previous year, were in the top 10. I really wanted Vernon Gholston. This is when I knew I was made for this business because I really wanted Vernon Gholston, and they ended up being one of the biggest busts ever. Patriots trade back a few spots. Belichick's like, what is that Gelb kid? No, he knows absolutely jack bleed. And then they take Gerard Mayo, who's now the head football coach of the team. So my worst draft take ever, I was in love with Vernon Gholston. Okay. What's yours? Did this get old takes exposed?
Yes, for years it was old takes exposed.
Okay.
Draft day, and he might do it. Fred Siegel runs old takes exposed.
So let me ask you this. Were you hyping up a player that was kind of unknown? Like, was it against the grain, or this was a guy that was like pretty well talked about that you thought was going to be generational?
Top 10 pick that I thought was a mistake. That's what I got.
Oh, it was a mistake.
Yes.
How many years ago-ish?
At the beginning of the Twitter era, I think it was 2011, if I had to guess. 2011. So I thought this top 10 pick was a mistake.
Quarterback?
Nope. I thought it was a mistake, and I'll tell you why I thought it was a mistake. Because you don't draft that position that high.
Oh, so it was a running back or receiver?
Nope.
Okay, who was it?
It was a linebacker. Little kid out of BC who I said, man, they should not take a linebacker.
I've seen this before. Kuechly.
Luke Kuechly. You don't draft a running back in the top 10. He actually put it in his book, too, the famous draft bad take that Luke Kuechly would never work out. And that was pretty evidently wrong about 3 games into his NFL career.
Yeah. That's
but we've all had classic. I mean, yeah, last year, by the way, I got to tell you, because we did the draft together, I think you and I were both cautiously optimistic or cautious about Bryce Young. Like, I don't remember being like, oh, this is a guaranteed hit. I do remember saying, man, these receivers are not good around him. It's going to be a real tough spot.
So Bryce Young, I don't think, like, there's some situations. For example, Sam Darnold didn't have a good situation in New York.
Absolutely.
But I said he needed to still give me 5 like tangible moments, and he couldn't give you any tangible moments in New York that suggested he was going to be the guy. For Bryce Young, I think it's way too premature to call him a bust because that organization last year was such a bleep show with David Tepper, getting the coaching staff that everyone praised and then firing him so early. And when I like Adam Thielen. And Adam Thielen was fine.
Yeah.
But in the year of 2023 last season, he can't be your number one wide receiver.
No, it was built the wrong way. I mean, I think that's the fear with your Patriots. They don't have a great receiving core. I still think they'll probably take Drake May at number 3, most likely scenario. That's a tough spot. That's going to take 2 years to get going. And the NFL's so impatient right now. Is anyone going to give them 2 years?
So here was my love-hate relationship with Drake May.
Yeah.
I really wanted, like you said, Jaden Daniels. So I know we're not getting Jaden Daniels now because Williams going 1, Daniels going 2. And it's more so, like you're saying, what's around him right now.
Yep.
So if they could use the second-round pick at 34th overall and get a Brandon Ayuk, get a T. Higgins, which they were willing to spend money on Calvin Ridley, but I guess Calvin Ridley's girlfriend just didn't want to go to Foxborough, I'm okay with doing that. Or whoever the best wide receiver is at 34, maybe you trade up the back end of the first round and give like a nothing kind of pick. In future years, 3, whatever, to move up, I would do that. But, like, I outside of Ayuk or Higgins and established receivers, I'm drafting Drake May, and I know this will be something that isn't popular right at 3, and I'm sitting him and throwing Jacoby Brissett to the Wolves for at least 10 to 12 games this year.
Yeah, and then you're not – I'm rooting for Gerard Mayo. I think he's a cool dude. I think you're not going to win a ton of games, though. I mean, are you okay with that?
But I'm fine with them sucking this year.
Okay, yeah, but you know how it is. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt.
But that's fine. Be terrible.
Yeah.
You may have a Ferrari in the driveway.
Yep.
The Ferrari's not ready to be driven right now, so keep it in the driveway. And then next year in the draft, you're picking once again, in all likelihood, in the top 5. You go get a big playmaker. You go be aggressive in free agency with a ton of money to spend. So it's not really that I dislike Drake May, even though there were times this year when I watched him and I was not impressed with him. And everyone tells you he could be like Josh Allen. Well, Josh Allen was at a time where he was very 50-50. He hit. For every Josh Allen, there's a Zach Wilson. There's a Trey Lance that doesn't hit. So I'm more concerned with the situation rather than the player.
I totally agree. Here's one thing. Let's talk about one other player who changed his social handles to Patriots. What if A.J. Brown could be had? And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm not sure the Eagles want to keep paying him. Yeah. And they're in a position to draft a receiver this year. He's a guy.
Well, there's a report that actually came out today.
Oh, well, I was saying he could be Steph Diggs to Josh Allen, but you need so you're on board. Okay, what was the report? I didn't see it yet.
So Spike Eskin's father,
Howard, the best.
Howard Eskin, who I love Howard, but he is kind of a mouthpiece for the Eagles organization. Yeah. He said he's hearing, so this is why I trusted, because you know what's coming from some of the organization. They're already talking contract extension with A.J. Brown.
Okay.
So maybe some of this drama was devised by A.J. Brown to maybe expedite the contract.
Well, I mean, listen, though. You're already paying Devontae Smith. It's getting to be an expensive wide receiver room.
It is. But you have a window for the next 2 years to go win a Super Bowl. You have Howie Roseman figure out how to be a cap genius, which he's been.
Let me give you one more scenario for the Patriots.
Sure.
What if they trade with the Giants? Giants get in on Drake May, or the Vikings, and then they end up with J.J. McCarthy. Is it the same calculus where you sit him behind Jacoby Brissett? Because I actually think, ironically, J.J. McCarthy's more ready to go than Drake May.
McCarthy's more NFL ready. McCarthy's more NFL ready. I think you have to play McCarthy. But for McCarthy, it all comes down to fit. If McCarthy goes to Minnesota, I think he could be a good pro. J.J. McCarthy is the quarterback of the Giants or the Patriots with what they have right now, where the cupboard's very bare. I don't think he's going to be that good.
No. I like it. I agree 100%.
But I would rather, if I'm trading the pick at 3, I'd rather trade it to the Giants because then you only move back to 6 and you get there at bare minimum they're 1 next year. I think the Giants are going to be trash next year.
Yeah.
If you're trading with the Vikings, you're getting 11-23 this year because they made the deal with the Texans, and then they're 1 next year. I don't think that's enough because, yes, it's 3 first-round picks, but it's really 2 because you're moving 3 and 11, you're swapping,
Yeah.
and then it's 2 first-round picks at 23, and then the Vikings probably going to be in the 20s next year again. That doesn't move the needle for me.
Well, I don't know about that. They're in a tough division. They might be in the teens. But
still, it's not a top 10 pick.
I will tell you, though, J.J. McCarthy might be better than what you get next year. Next year is going to be Shedeur Sanders, who's super old.
And then I can get
and
Coach
Carson
Prime
back.
to coach the team.
Oh, is that your plan?
Now I'm all in. Coach Prime, he's my guy.
Gerard Mayo just started. You're getting Coach Prime in New England. And one thing for him to take over in Alabama for Saban, if you went from Belichick 1 year of Mayo to Prime, that would be unbelievable, dude.
So where are you at, though, with McCarthy?
I'm exactly where you are. I think he could be Kirk Cousins in the sense that I think you're going to get a good
So he's going to
quarterback.
Minnesota.
I think Minnesota makes the most sense, and he's a system quarterback. He's more athletic than everyone says. Like, he can run a little bit, can make all the throws. So I think here's the thing. If you expect him to lead you to a Super Bowl in 3 years, that one feels a little off. But I feel like he could be Matt Ryan, Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins, good, serviceable. Does that excite anyone? Not really.
No. So here's what I would say. Drake May, would you agree with this? The 2 spots for Drake May tonight. Patriots and Vikings.
No, I mean, the Giants want in bad.
Oh, you think that recent hype is legitimate?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's just common sense. The Giants need a high ceiling quarterback because I don't think
Dayball connection, the Allen similarities.
I don't think they're as excited about McCarthy. I think they need to take a risk here.
So 3 potential landing spots for May.
Yeah.
Patriots, Giants, Vikings.
Right.
McCarthy. I think there's only 2 potential landing spots. I do not believe. I know people are going to say, oh, but Tom Brady and Robert Kraft and Brady's going to push McCarthy on the Kraft. If I'm sitting here tomorrow and the Patriots have J.J. McCarthy, my jaw will be on the floor. I'll be stunned.
Well, what if they get him later?
Trade back? Nah, I don't want to. I don't want J.J. I love J.J. McCarthy. I'm a Michigan honk here.
Yeah.
I don't want J.J. McCarthy on the Patriots.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. But, okay, if you get him at 11, you're walking away, you're okay. I'm telling you, I know you.
It's Mac Jones, though.
He's better than Mac Jones.
Oh, but I'm saying they got Mac Jones. They didn't have to. They got Mac Jones at, 15. Mac Jones fell. If he falls again, it feels like Mac Jones all over again.
Okay, so what are the McCarthy teams, realistically? Minnesota, Denver, because...
No, I don't buy that.
Well, you can put anybody with Sean Payton who's not huge, and it makes sense.
I think it's 2 spots for McCarthy.
Okay.
I think the Vikings will either jump the Giants or he'll be there at 6 for the Giants, and they'll take him.
Did you cover that Chargers rumor at all this week?
Yeah, bunch of nonsense.
It was fun, though, that the Chargers would take McCarthy. If
But
they
here's
did that,
another
it'd be
spot.
amazing.
The Chargers are at 5. Yeah. I think the Chargers are a big talking point for the trade, and it's like, who does Harbaugh hate the least? Because the Vikings had him in for that 12-hour interview.
Great point.
And then they passed, but you're not going to trade him in division, right? You're not going to, if you love McCarthy this much, you're not going to have the Broncos trade up to get him or the Raiders trade up to get him and you be the one that executes the deal with them. So that's why I think McCarthy is either going to be trading up with the Vikings and they'll make the deal with the Chargers because I think Marvin Harris Jr. is going to go 4. Or I think McCarthy will fall to 6 and the Giants will gobble him up.
Did you read? Let me ask you about 2 other rumors real quick. That Dan Graziano reported the Giants had interest in Michael Penix.
I don't.
That to me, like, if you didn't know that Michael Penix was 23 and had 2 arthritic knees, on paper he's a better quarterback than J.J. McCarthy.
Who's he throwing the ball to? I agree. He's a better quarterback than J.J. McCarthy.
Right.
Here's what I've been saying: Williams and Daniels, I didn't go anywhere and be successful.
Yeah.
Penix, McCarthy, May.
Yeah, right spot.
I really do believe it's the spot. May in New England, if they sit him out a year, can eventually work. May with the Giants, if they sit him out for a bit, can eventually work. But like McCarthy, he's got to go to Minnesota. If he doesn't go to Minnesota, I don't think he's going to be all that good. Michael Penix, though.
There's one other Penix rumor. Did you see Schefter said Atlanta's been doing a lot of work behind the scenes on Michael Penix Jr.?
How, though? They just signed Kirk Cousins.
2 years, really, it's
$180 million, though.
It's really a 2-year deal with Kirk Cousins.
But it's $100 million guaranteed.
Coming off an Achilles, you might need a high-end backup quarterback. It's crazy, and I don't think it's going to happen. But indoor with that receiving core, I would like that.
I would then start to examine Arthur Blank a little bit. I would just he could be in Jerry Jones territory.
Well, that is a team that chose not to hire Bill Belichick, so they have a lot going on down there.
Penix, though, the 2 teams that I would like to see him go to. Raiders.
Right.
Because we get Stu at quarterback with Devontae Adams, and maybe Devontae Adams stays there. Team I most want to see him go to? Seattle. How fun. This offensive coordinator is there from college. You got the 3 wide receivers in Metcalf, Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. 2 running backs that I'm optimistic on in Walker and Charbonnet. And McDonald, who seems like a young, energetic, defensive-minded coach. That'd be fun.
That's awesome. Wait, did you give me the second one? Because I have can I tell you the second one? Because I think we think alike.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think Raiders throwing to Devontae Adams indoors.
Yeah. That's what I said for you get Stu a quarterback.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to buy. I'm a huge Penix fan. I'm going to buy a Penix jersey, and I'm going to hang it right up there. We're in the same studio.
Okay.
It's going to be there, and then my Jalen Hurts jersey right next to it.
Can you do me a favor, though, when you buy a jersey? 'Cause
Yeah.
you got a lot of coin. We know that.
Yeah.
Can you just get like a Gelb custom jersey? Because you got Maggie there, we got Perloff there. Like,
sure.
Do I have to hang up? Do I have to make my own jersey and hang them up? Like, you're buying 2 jerseys,
Love
just
it.
get another one with Gelb on the
As
back.
far as I know, these jerseys are not on camera at any time during the show.
So no one sees them.
But dude, you're just going to let my Penix Hurts joke go?
Oh.
What are you doing here? Samter got it.
Yeah.
What is guys? Come on, you got to get
That's
in
like,
here. You just went right past that.
That's like Long Cox with Chris Long and Fletcher Cox when they sit next to each other.
It's the whole Grady Dick thing in the NBA.
That'd be pretty good. But you know what? People get offended by that stuff these days. I don't want to offend anyone.
Well, I mean, listen, the jerseys, I'm a Michael Penix fan. I'm allowed to have a Michael Penix jersey, and I'm a Jalen Hurts fan because I'm an Eagles fan.
No, that went right over my... Because I do know you have... I thought you were being serious. I was like, oh, Perloff's being serious here. Okay, let's just...
I do, but I'm thrilled with Michael Penix. The dude the ball looks so pretty coming out of his hand.
My only concern about him, it's the underneath throws.
Yeah, I understand. Listen, he didn't hit him against Michigan.
No, and Michigan dared him.
Yeah.
Dared him to throw that ball.
Yeah, but Michigan, nobody was blocking the interior lineman coming up. Michigan blew that game up on the line.
And their secondary was just flat out ridiculous. All right, we'll do one more segment with Perloff in this hour. When we come on back, the 5 against the grain players in this draft for Andrew Perloff. Do we still have 5? Is that right? We still got 5.
We have 9 names down here. In the break, I'm going to cross off 4. Because you have to decide, like...
Was that right, math? Yeah, it was. I was making sure you weren't Jerry Jones.
It's got to be against the grain, so it's got to be a guy who's not going top 10. Do we agree on that? You can't go against the grain and then throw out...
No, you can't be like...
Joe Alt.
Yeah.
That's with the grain.
I will say the 3 players that I'm most confident in this draft, it's Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, and then Joe Alt.
I love all 3.
No quarterbacks.
Yeah, but those are, I think Odunze's a little bit against the grains. I think a lot of people have him ranked 3rd, but I mean, listen, Marvin Harrison is as with the grain as you get. His dad's a Hall of Famer. He's 6'4". Yeah, he's with the grain.
Against the grain with Perloff on the Zach Gelb Show when we continue on the Infinity Sports Network. Update time. Here he is, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Well, in Detroit, the NFL draft begins tonight. It is a night when franchises can be made over these next few days. Also ruined as well. The Bears have the first pick for the 2nd straight year. This time they are keeping it and are expected to pick Caleb Williams out of USC. The Commanders have the 2nd pick overall, followed by the Patriots. Baseball this afternoon, lots of action, and these are finals. The Phillies get a home run from Bryce Harper and shut out the Reds 5-3. Cincinnati with just 3 hits on the day. The Twins got a pair from Edouard Julien and beat the White Sox 6-3. Jose Ramirez a grand slam, and the Guardians 6-4 win over the Red Sox, and the Brewers topped the Pirates 6-5. Gary Sanchez pinch hit home run put them over the top. The Dodgers lead the Nationals 1-0, bottom of the 2nd on a home run by Teoscar Hernandez. Bottom of the 4th, it's Padres with a 6-4 lead over the Rockies, while the Mariners lead the Rangers 4-3 in the bottom of the 8th. The Cubs on top of the Astros 3-1, top of the 8th. Pete Crow Armstrong, his first major league hit, and it was a home run for the Cubs. And the Royals lead the Blue Jays 2-1 in the 6th. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X and like us on Facebook. Our handle is @INF Sportsnet on X and INF Sportsnet for Facebook.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
Alrighty, how we doing? Rock and rolling. It is the Zach Gelb Show. This portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information. KennebussFinancialGroup.com. Andrew Perloff is here with me for one more segment, of course, from the Maggie and Perloff Show. Us here at the Infinity Sports Network, we got you covered for the NFL Draft. When I get off the air at 6 p.m. Eastern, you'll hear JR from 6 to 8. And then at 8 p.m. Eastern, it'll be JR and Bart anchoring all of our first-round coverage. And obviously, you will hear from Amy Lawrence tonight. And then in the morning, the Maggie and Perloff Show, which they will have wall-to-wall coverage of the first round. I'm sure you will have a comprehensive breakdown for rounds 2 and 3.
Yeah, let me ask you, what do you think we lead with tomorrow? I think it's a big trade.
I think you lead with Drake May and J.J. McCarthy, where those two guys wind up and how they end up getting selected.
Well, unless Drake May goes 3 to New England, which is chalk.
Then McCarthy trade.
Then it's McCarthy.
Then it's either McCarthy getting with the trade with the Vikings or maybe landing with the Giants.
Or possibly the two X's, Penix and Nix. Where if those guys, if Nix falls out of the first round or if he goes way higher than expected. You see like Peter Schrager's mock has Nix 12 and Penix 13. That would be a story. If all 6 quarterbacks go in the first half of the first round, I think that's what you're walking away with. I mean, 6 quarterbacks, we haven't had it since 83. I personally think it's a great quarterback class. Those guys are older. They're polished. I think it's going to be good.
I'll be stunned if 4 don't go in the top 6.
Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, where does Penix go? And I got to think the latest Penix goes is 16 to Seattle.
Yeah. So Jay Glazer, who is the Oracle, said that 13 is too rich for Penix, and he actually knows what's going to happen.
I said it earlier. I said the only information I trust this year is from Schefter, Rappaport, Glazer, and then for the draft purposes, Jeremiah. And there was one more draft expert. I forget who it was.
There's a couple guys.
Oh, Schrager, I said.
Schrager's good. Josh Norris at Underdog Fantasy is a killer mock drafter. There are a lot of guys who can mock draft well. Warren Sharp's good at mock drafting, too. But I would say that Jay Glazer, though, is a different level than all those guys, even than Schefter.
Because he's like buddies with all these owners.
Yeah,
too.
and he does the MMA gym, but he doesn't give his information out, except for very little bits he leaks out. So when he says Penix is too rich at 13, that means someone on the Raiders said, we probably won't take him there. We would want him later on, which makes me nervous. I have an over-under bet with EJ, our producer.
What's the bet?
4.5 quarterbacks in the first round. Whoever loses, you'll like this. Whoever loses has to run gassers at that field a few blocks away, and Pete Bellotti holds the whistle.
No offense. I think you could run a gasser. I don't know how EJ's going to be running a gasser.
No, EJ said that he doesn't want to do gassers. He's afraid.
Do you have the over or the under?
I have the over.
I think the over's going to hit.
The odds have gone heavy towards the over. It's like over minus 300.
I think there's a slim chance. I don't think Bo Nix will go in the first round, but it would not shock me if 6 go in the first round.
I kind of think Bo Nix might go in the first round because everyone's like...
Back end late.
I heard this logic. If everyone thinks he's such a great second-round pick, what a great value in the second round. At some point, he's such a great value that he's going to go in the first round because he won't be there for you in the second round. So I wouldn't be shocked if it was 6.
You know how it potentially goes? Let's say if Minnesota gets shut out of a quarterback, and maybe we all think then, okay, worst case, you could go take at 11 Michael Penix Jr. If they don't like a Michael Penix Jr., maybe then they wait until 23. And they could trade back a few spots with Bo Nix. All right, here we go. We've been teasing it. Let's get to it. The 5 Andrew Perloff against the grain players in this draft.
All right. Where's the music? I only worked with Stu and Sampler for
Do we usually have music?
3 years. I don't know. Was there music?
It's Against the Grain with Andrew Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Stu, you forget me this quickly? All right. That'll work. Okay.
You should hear what they say about you behind the scenes.
Oh,
they always go, most egotistical host you've ever had to work with. High maintenance.
Yeah, totally. I always come in and I see Stu in the morning and everything. Man, sorry about those Lakers. Every day. And he's like, yeah, sorry about those Sixers. Okay. My first one.
Against the Grain.
Let's go.
And we got to fade it out because it probably says the name of the old network.
I was like, wow, that was a quick fade out. All right, there we go. All right. Of course, my first one, you probably saw this coming. Malachi Corley. First of all, how can someone named Malachi Corley not be awesome? Let me read you a little bit of our friend NFL.com's Lance Zierlein, their draft expert. This is what he wrote about him. He's a Deebo Samuel type out of Western Kentucky. Bailey Zappi threw to him. This is what Lance said. Corley is a big physical wideout who has been asked to carry a heavy workload for Western Kentucky. His highlight reel will be full of broken tackles and general carnage left in his wake.
How about
Dude,
that?
a receiver with general carnage? That is my new fantasy football team. So Malachi Corley, who's actually super hot, like a lot of draft experts have been saying that he could go in the second round. Really good player. Number 2, another silly reason, Luke McCaffrey. So former Nebraska quarterback turned receiver at Rice, obviously famous last name. I'm drafting him on the bloodline alone. Do we need any more? You got a McCaffrey. If you could get a McCaffrey in the 5th round, why not? Because you know that he's going to work as hard as anyone on the team because his brother does. You know that he's got in there. He's only been playing receiver for 2 years. So he'll be a slot receiver. Here's the other one that I love.
Watch the Broncos 49ers maybe to draft him too?
Yeah, it could be.
Just saying.
But the new kickoff rule. He is like, he's built like a running back who plays receiver. No one knows who's going to play this position. He feels perfect for that. Okay, number 3. I know you love this guy. Does anyone not love Ladd McConkey, Georgia? What if San Francisco drafts him and trades Ayuk?
What about Kansas City draft?
Either one. He's getting 1,200
Buffalo.
yards. Yeah, when he got out there and ran a 4.39 at the combine, everyone knew he could catch. Everyone knew he could get open. But he's got the measurements. He'd be great in all those. He's going to be an instant hit, and he's just a lot of fun. Okay, number 4. I got this guy. This is from a scout gave me this. Well, he's not really.
Inside information.
No. He's actually not a scout.
Inside information for against the grain.
No. I should have said that. He's an agent who thinks he's a scout.
Which means he's probably actually a scout, folks.
No. He's definitely
actually
not.
an agent.
Okay, Ben Sinnott, Kansas State. 6'4", 250, ran a 4.68. Do you know, who does that sound like? Who's a comp? 6'4", 250, because he's a tight end. He's probably my favorite tight end in the league.
Your favorite tight end?
No, actually, no, I love Laporta. He's amazing.
I was going to say Laporta.
He sounds like Dallas Goedert. Totally
Okay.
Tall. He really, really, really productive. He's sort of supposed to be a second rounder, so he might be the second tight end after Brock Bowers. I don't love Bowers. I think of the Jets taking.
You know what? I saw Bowers at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it doesn't blow you away.
And I
right?
was like, who's this guy walking around? Someone's like, that's Brock Bowers. I go, that's Brock Bowers? Could not believe it. So we got 3 players down, right?
Okay, that's 4. I had.
Oh, that was 4?
Malachi Corley, Luke McCaffrey, Ladd McConkey, and Ben Sinnott. Now, this isn't as against the grain, but can I ask you why we're not talking about Jared Verse at Florida State? Why is he? What happened? Like, he was like the number 3 pick. Dude, he's a killer. I want him on my
Great
team.
story, too, coming from Albany and then going to Florida State.
I think
what I think it was? I think it was a little bit, there was so much hype with him going into the season. And when you watched him, he was good. But I think everyone was expecting him to be at a different level out of this world. And when you know that you're going to the NFL and that you're the guy, and I've talked to him before, and you get blown away everything, I just think people set the bar too high for him, but he's still a very good player.
I think it's fatigue. I think he's a killer. I think he's going to be a star. I think he might be the defensive star out of this class. And I actually did hear some experts were saying, watch out for him to take over that 8th spot with Atlanta. That Jared Verse might be slept on. So that's against the grain. Obviously, he's going to be a top 15 pick. But those are my 5 guys.
Give me those 5 names one more time. These are the Andrew Perloff 5 against the grain players for this 2024 NFL Draft.
Malachi Corley, Western Kentucky. Luke McCaffrey, Rice. Ladd McConkey, Georgia. Ben Sinnott, Kansas State. And, of course, Jared Verse, Florida State. And because I would have put, like, Caleb Williams. He's going to be pretty good, too. But that's with the grain.
Well, what's your one take, just wondering?
Oh.
What is your take that when I look at the draft and you had Kuechly and you're like, oh, that guy's going to be no good, that you'll end up on Fred Siegel's site with Old Takes Exposed. Old Takes.
Detroit and Miami should look at quarterbacks high up in this draft.
Ooh.
The big negotiations.
What about Dallas? Can we get Dallas now?
So I think Dallas is almost definitely going offensive line. Is what all they never do it. They talk about that stuff, then they never make a move like that. But what about you don't trust to his health, and Jared Goff doesn't like his contract situation now? Why not just shock the world and get a guy at 24 to challenge him? I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Penix will be. It feels like Bo Nix would fit Ben Johnson and the Lions. Although I don't know if Ben Johnson's staying there. Or the Cowboys, that'd be good. Eagles, by the way. How he likes to draft a quarterback. How he likes to draft. Dude, listen.
I know.
Hurts is in the same position as Wentz. Second round, Spencer Rattler. Wouldn't that be fun?
So I know we got to run, and I appreciate you coming in. But,
love it, dude.
But here's my biggest concern with Drake May. As much as everyone tells me he could be Josh Allen, I also fear that he could be Carson Wentz. Your guy.
Carson was really good his second year.
Yeah, I don't want one-hit wonders, though. I want guys that could be 10 to 15-year players.
By the way, I know the segment. I have a feeling we're going to be talking all night. I
Probably.
agree. Yeah, okay.
You're like a fly. We can't get rid of you. We need a fly swatter. Coming on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
All righty, the NFL Draft is here, hour number 3 of our radio program, and what a nice surprise this is. The Super Bowl winning head coach, Brian Billick, kind enough to join us right now in studio on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network on behalf of Signal Relief. Coach, appreciate the time as always. How you been?
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
So this time of the year, what kind of memories does it bring back for you, and kind of take me behind the scenes what this is like for a coach on draft night?
Wow, they are such great memories because, the draft, the great thing about the draft, it really is the beginning of your year. Obviously, you've had a lot of work leading up to it, but when you add talent to the organization, then the schedule will come out next 2 weeks or so, and now you're set. Now you know exactly everything's in place, and you go forward with it. And anytime you're adding talent, young talent to your team, it's exciting. Now it's taken on a whole new level when you're talking about the draft and the interest in draft. I mean, it's amazing. There'll be close to 60 million people watch the draft over the 3 networks over the next 3 days. There could be upwards of 15 million people watching tonight in the first round. Now, keep in mind that 15 million will outdraw NBA and NHL playoff games, Major League. I mean, the interest in it, and so the fans, whether it's because of fantasy or whatever, you're adding that talent to it. Everybody knows about the players. Everybody knows about everything. It's an exciting time.
So I'm always a sucker for after the first round is over, or after the entire draft is over, the teams now, they pump out their social media content, and you see the owner, you see the coach, you see the GM have these emotional phone calls. Is there one phone call or two all these years later that still stick out to you with a player that you guys drafted?
Well, that began because, and I think it went back to the early days in Cleveland where they drafted a guy that had died. He had actually died, and they didn't realize this is the old days. Mm-hmm. So people started, before I draft, I'm going to talk to a guy. I want to know he's okay, he wasn't in a car accident or whatever. But that too is an emotional time because particularly whether it's the first round pick, which everybody sees and watches, they're in the green room or whatever, or later guys that have waited now, second round, third round. Am I going to get the call? So when you make those calls to the 6th round guy, or the late second round guy, the 3rd round guy, the 4th round guy, that's when it really gets exciting because now they've waited. They weren't sure how high they were going to go. And they get that call, and all of a sudden you've changed their world, their dream, their life's dream to play in the National Football League. And it becomes real to them. Now, whether they make the team or not, that's a whole other thing. But that's an exciting call.
Talking to Brian Billick right now. All right, let's get to the quarterbacks. I have to do these commentaries that aired at all of our stations around the country, and the commentary I did today was, it feels like 95% of the time with the draft, all we talk about are quarterbacks. When you look at Caleb Williams, he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. He has the task of changing the Bears franchise. The Bears finally getting right their franchise quarterback. What do you see with Caleb Williams?
Just like Justin Fields, right? I mean, he was going to be that guy. The view I have on the quarterbacks, there's absolutely no reason. This is a talented field. And there's absolutely no reason these guys shouldn't be good pros. The fact of the matter is, half of them are going to fail. That's just the history of it. And it's a 50-50 proposition. Now, it's above my pay grade to tell you which of these guys are going to be successful and which one aren't. They all have the basic abilities to be good. The film supports it. A lot of it has to do with where they go, how they developed. But at the end of the day, do they have that ability that translates into the NFL? And you don't know until you get them. Yeah, I had one scout tell me the most difficult thing is of the 350 some odd throws a player might make in a given year, only about 15 to 20% are NFL throws, throws that you can look at and say, yes, these are throws he's going to make or have to make in the NFL. So by that number, you look at it, and so you're deciding on whether to put your franchise, your future, on the line by taking a guy in the first round on about 50 throws. Is that enough to extrapolate? And sometimes sometimes no. There's absolutely no reason these guys across the board shouldn't be good pros, but half of them are going to fail.
So with what you just said about the film, which I think it's fascinating, and right, you got to coach a team during the season. You have other people doing the scouting and trying to figure out who's the best and all that. I know that it always has come down to if the coach loves the player or not, but you do have some input in that kind of process. When you sit down, when you used to talk to some of these quarterbacks, what do you look for when you just have these conversations and these meetings and meetings and meetings that just never end with these players?
That is the tough part, too, because the physical part you can see. That's easy to quantify. Okay, yeah, he's got this kind of arm strength. He can run around. He can do this, has this kind of vision. But it's that temperament. And they're all very, these typical quarterbacks are going to be strong personalities. You can see the good natural leadership in them. But you've got to kind of dig past that to see, is this guy that I really want to be a partner with? And there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of scratch through it. They're all very prepared now, too, via their agents, and particularly today. They're well-schooled. They sit down. They're polished. They know how to answer certain questions that you're going to put to them. You try to kind of cut through that to see how competitive is this guy? How's he going to handle the pressure? How's he going to make the transition into the NFL? Is he a small school guy from a small environment, small town, that now is going to get thrown into New York or Chicago or San Francisco or Dallas? How's he going to handle that? That's a lot, and particularly with a limited amount of time, particularly as the coach. I may only have, a small window to visit with the guy. That's where you really got to count on your coaches, or I should say your scouts, to have done their homework, to have done the background on the guy, talk to family members, friends, other teammates, the equipment guy, just to find out what kind of guy is this, what's he really like, what is his character, because that's going to affect his ability to succeed as much as anything physically.
Nowadays, as we're joined in the studio on the Zach Gelb Show by Brian Billick, we, the running and the mobility part of the quarterback position is so important. Like, before the season, everyone said Caleb Williams, Drake May going to be 1-2. Now, Drake May has athleticism, he has mobility, but then Jaden Daniels goes out there and he rushes for 1,100 yards and tosses 40 touchdowns, and boom, it's expected Daniels is going to go 2 tonight and May is going to go 3. How much of an importance now do you put on it for guys running the football out of the quarterback position?
Well, that's two different questions, running the ball versus athleticism. In today's game, you have to have a certain athleticism, the ability to work within the pocket, the ability to extend plays, not necessarily maybe running the ball, but getting outside the pocket, throwing off a platform, being able to perform outside of that pristine pocket, that ability to just sit.
Like Mahomes, like he runs pretty much sideline to sideline. Correct. He's not usually running down the field.
And he's a perfect example because he's a guy that can also hurt you running the ball down the field. But we do have a lot of quarterbacks that element, that ability to run the ball, it's important because it's an adjunct. The question is, but can he beat you from the pocket? Now, maybe he's a good enough runner. Lamar Jackson's a perfect example. Mm-hmm. But you got to buy into that. You got to say, okay, we're comfortable with him running the ball 150, 160, 170 times. That's a non-traditional view because can he last? Can he stay healthy enough? So the running quarterback, that's a nice adjunct, but the athleticism within the pocket is more important. And these guys have that. Joe Burrow is an excellent athletic quarterback. Now, he's not going to run 70, 80 times and put a bunch of yards on it, but he can move around the pocket. Aaron Rodgers is one of the most athletic and gifted moving within the pocket and extending the play, because that's what you're really doing. You're breaking down a defense and extending the play by buying time, by moving around the pocket. So that athleticism is an absolute premium. The old, stable, straight-legged, stiff quarterback, those days are gone, clearly. There has to be a certain amount of athleticism. But does that make Jaden Daniels a better quarterback, a more productive quarterback, because he adds those running yards than the guys that are athletic but do it more within the pocket? That's a good question. Then the other question is, okay, but can he stay healthy? That's the next question.
That's the only concern I have with Daniels.
Exactly right, and legitimately so.
He's not a big guy. Like,
No.
you look at him, he's frail.
But he knows, like Lamar Jackson, he knows how to avoid the hit. He can stay. It's not a problem until it's a problem.
Yeah, because Lamar doesn't take, as much as he runs the ball,
Correct.
He doesn't take that many hits.
But missed last 6 games.
Yeah, no, he's had injuries.
But and that's not fair to put an indictment on him because any quarterback can get hurt. Joe Burrow was hurt for a lot of part of the season. But you are tempting Providence if you're going to buy into that kind of guy. And how long can he do that and stay healthy? That's really the big question. And the key thing where a lot of teams will make a mistake is they'll buy into that athleticism, but then try to limit him. But we don't want him carrying the ball 10, 12 times a game. That's why you have to give Baltimore great credit for when they took Lamar Jackson and they bought in. They said, no, we're committed. If we're going to let him be him and he's going to carry the ball 160, 170 times, you got to buy into the second part of the equation.
The 2 storylines that I'm most fascinated to see tonight, who Minnesota ends up getting at quarterback. No Kirk Cousins. They're sitting there at 11. They also made a trade before the draft, so they have 23 as well, so you have ammunition to move up. I kind of feel like the Patriots are going to keep the pick at 3 and take a quarterback. So that 4 and 5 range before the Giants pick at 6, because I think if one of the 4 top quarterbacks are there, you will see the Giants take a quarterback. I'm fascinated to see what Minnesota does tonight.
Yeah, and you do that. You have to rely on your evaluation, your analysis. What that tells me is they're comfortable with 4 or 5 of these guys. You either move all the way up and spend all the resources for that because you see that, and some teams will do that. You see there's a real difference between the second and third guy. But when you move into the position that Minnesota has, that tells me, yeah, you may see them move up to get a particular guy, but that tells me they're very comfortable with 4 or 5 of these guys, all of them, and that they're going to be as comfortable with a Michael Penix as they would be with a J.J. McCarthy because they think one of these guys is going to find his way back to that position.
Yeah, Brian Billick here with us. Other players like a Marvin Harrison Jr., I think he's can't miss. You have the family lineage there. Is that something like we talk about that? We're like, oh, his dad was a great player. Now he's a great player in college. How important is the family lineage at all?
To a degree, good bloodlines are always good, and the fact that he's been around it. He's been around the game his whole life. That's a comfort zone for me. That growing up around his dad, obviously went to a high-profile program at Ohio State. So he's comfortable in that role. He's seen it. He's lived it. And that's very important because a lot of times you can get young, gifted athletes that come in, and that role can overwhelm them. And they step onto the big stage, and all of a sudden it is a lot in the NFL or in a big city. So, yeah, that's certainly a comfort zone that he has that kind of background. And what's interesting, again, in this draft is because of the quarterback situation, some awfully good players, whether it be a Harrison, whether it's the tackle Alt, are going to get pushed back to some teams that, realistically could not anticipate that they were going to be available where they're picking. So that means some pretty good athletes are going to get pushed back into a good position.
Oh, it's funny you said that because I was telling you earlier how I did this commentary, how it's all quarterback. Right. The 3 players I actually feel most confident on aren't even quarterbacks. It's Marvin Harrison Jr., it's Joe Alt, the offensive lineman at Notre Dame, and then it's Rome Odunze, the wide receiver out of Washington. So it's a little bit interesting how much coverage we spend on the quarterbacks than compared to maybe how you feel about who's going to be the best players in the next level. When it comes to leaks, and I now know everyone has a platform now. Like, are teams, like, you hear this idea that teams leak out information maybe to have a player fall that they want to get. Is that stuff accurate? Do we just kind of make
absolutely.
too much of that?
Right now, this is a giant game of liar's poker. You can believe nothing of what you hear from anybody in the NFL right now because they're pushing and prodding, and there's a lot of different things that, misinformation. Everybody's on the phone right now talking to one another. And with all the relationships you have, trying to be as discreet as you can to try to glean any idea about the direction they might go, at the same time not giving out any information that you have. So right now, there's a lot. And then you throw in the agents that then also are going to, leak out a lot of information or perspectives. And now because of social media, and there's just so many. I mean, how many people have mock drafts?
That's wild.
And 99.9% of them are people that don't know a quarterback from a quarter pounder. Okay, but they base it on I read this, I hear that. None of them have done the film work. None of them have based it, and that's fine too. That you take a accumulation of I've heard this. I've
Guy
read
runs
this.
a quick 40, boom, first round pick.
Like they say, you hear it all the time. The last couple of months. Well, this guy has zoomed up the draft board. No, he hasn't. He's always been there. You're just now finding out about it. The draft gurus and the guys that put these mock drafts together are just now becoming aware of guys that the clubs have known all along how good they were, where they were going to rank. That board has been set for a long time. Now, there are some people out there that do an outstanding job. Daniel Jeremiah, who's the NFL Network.
Great.
Daniel worked for us in Baltimore. He is outstanding. Mike Mayock used to be outstanding because they do the work. Charles Davis is one of the smartest guys I've ever been around. He sees the college game. He's been around. So there are a lot of guys out there that do put in the work and have a great perspective. The majority of people, and that's fine too. It's fair enough. It's fantasy football. They're just trading on. Well, I read this, I read that, I saw this, I saw that written, and put out. Well, this is how I see it. Well, and that's fair. That's great. It's exciting. It's not necessarily the most legitimate perspective, but it's fun to follow.
Where are you at with J.J. McCarthy? Because the confusing part with that is last year and the last few years, they've had such great offensive line. They had such great running backs. They didn't need to throw the ball 30, 35 times a game.
Anytime you take a quarterback from a program that is that dominant, it's a little bit of a concern because he is surrounded by great talent. Now, you don't nix him for that necessarily. And J.J. McCarthy did what they told him to do, and it won a national champion. Has his whole career. In terms, what is he, 27-1 or something like that, 2 high school championships, and so that's a pretty good pedigree. I'm going to scare you. For those that like J.J. McCarthy, I'm going to scare you to hear. Again, it's the 50-50. I think I see some Joe Bauer in him. I also see a Zach Jones. It could be either one. Is he that system quarterback with some great people around him? Now, certainly Bowers came out of tremendous talent at LSU, but where I don't know. He has all the physical tools, seems to have the right demeanor. He's got the pedigree. There's no reason, absolutely no reason why he shouldn't come in and be a great pro. I said the same thing about Zach Jones.
Wrap it up with Brian Billick. Tell me what you're doing about with Signal Relief today.
This is the people need to check this out. You need to go to signalrelief.com. This is the next step in pain mediation. It really is. It's a phenomenal product. It's reusable. You put it where you need it. It's not an icy patch or a TINS patch. It's no goo, no ointment. It works with the electrical signals in your body, hence Signal Relief. I mean, pain is nothing more than an electrical signal to your brain. We say put it between the brain and the pain. It mitigates that signal, allows you to get and rehab through. Motion is medicine. The more you do, the better you feel. You can work through that intermittent pain that we always have. I love golf. I play 18 holes of golf, my lower back. Okay, I put it on my lower back or actually just above it. Now it allows me to do those other things, to rehab, to push past that pain, because that's where the real rehab comes from, pushing past the pain, working the joint, working the muscle. Go to signalrelief.com. Check it out. Check out the science behind it. It's brilliant. It makes sense. It's the next wave of technology that you can use in putting you back in the game. Like I said, it's reusable up to a year, so it's very affordable. You put it where you need it. It's 100% money-back guarantee. Go to signalrelief.com, put in promo code COACH. You get 20% off. People with whatever intermittent pain or serious pain need to check this out, Signal Relief.
The last thing I want to ask you, so you have the Bengals who have a Super Bowl window. You have the 49ers, obviously, a Super Bowl window. Brandon Ayuk wants a new contract. There's been trade talk. T. Higgins on the franchise tag. He's demanded a trade. As a coach, I know there's GMs, you got agents, everyone else involved. How do you kind of weather the storm when a player's in a contract dispute and starts to want out? Because you want to keep him to try to go win that championship.
But that's the name of the game, the NFL. Denny Green, God rest his soul, my mentor, always said, there's a time for pay and there's a time for play. Well, now's the time for pay, and that's what you're focused on. If you've got a top caliber quarterback, you've got a window. And there's going to be transition in players. The great ones will absorb and raise the level of the other players around them. You got to know you can't pay everybody. The pie is only so big. And so at the end of the day, that's the price you're going to pay, particularly if you have a good quarterback that extends that window, which means you've got a pretty good window right now to work through. You're going to go through a number of iterations on your team and that's just the way it is. You got to rely on your system that got you that good player. Well, we can get another good player because at the end of the day, you can't pay everybody.
So you wouldn't be heartbroken if, let's say, Higgins or Ayuk get traded tonight?
You hate to see talent walk out the building. You hate to see good players, good guys walk out the building. But that's the nature of the league.
The business, yeah.
Yeah, and like Dan Rooney used to say, Mr. Rooney years ago said, I don't mind overpaying for a good player. I just don't want to overpay for a bad player.
Yeah.
And the hardest thing, and it's the hardest thing because you've worked and you've been through the baptism of fire with these players, and you can't pay for past performance.
It's the toughest part.
You can only pay for performance going forward, and that's where, because you want them to be a part of the team, but you got to keep that in mind. You got to pay for what is on the horizon, not what happened before.
You think Belichick has coached his last game?
That's hard to imagine. That's all this guy's ever done. There's going to be some team that recognizes that experience suits them. It's not for everybody, because regardless of what they say, at the end of the day, it's going to be Bill Belichick's show. So it's going to be a unique owner and a general manager that brings that on, knowing that at the end of the day, we answer to him. And whether they're willing to do that or not, he certainly has the pedigree. He's a lifer. It's all he's ever done.
Everyone says, a lot of people are saying the Cowboys, but Jerry Jones runs the show there.
That will be an interesting marriage. Now, Jerry Jones will make that deal if he thinks he can win, and that they'll work it out. But those two personalities, that would be worth the price of admission. We'll have to wait and see the rest of the story on that one.
He's Coach Billick. Coach, thanks so much. Once
Thank
again,
you.
check it out. Signal Relief. We'll take a timeout. I know Coach loves these mock drafts. I'm going to give you my final mock draft
Do it,
when
man.
we return in 5 minutes.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
Yo, that's right. It is the Infinity Sports Network. What a last fun 90 minutes or so with Perloff obviously joining us in studio, and then a surprise out of nowhere. We saw Brian Billick walking around the hallways there. We're like, oh, Coach, you want to come on for 20 minutes? Sure. So appreciate him jumping on board with us. I'm going to release right now my latest top 10 mock draft. In at number 1, this is the bold take. I can't believe I am making this selection. With the first pick of the 2024 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select quarterback Caleb Williams, USC. In at number 2, the Washington Commanders select a guy that I really, really wanted on my football team. That is Jaden Daniels. Now, here's the question. When you fall in love and you want a player on your team, and then another team gets that player, right? Patriots pick it at 3, Commanders at 2. Do I now root against Jaden Daniels? Because I'm going to be really down in the dumps if, let's say, the Patriots get Drake May, and he turns out to be a bust, and then the guy that I really wanted is Jaden Daniels. Like, if it turns out to be Patriots get May, Commanders get Daniels, and I've been not all in, clearly, on Drake May. If I end up being wrong and Drake May turns out to be generational, like a stud, I'm happy to have egg on my face in that one. But should I be rooting for Jaden Daniels to fail with the Commanders?
Absolutely. You should be rooting for every player that's not on the Patriots to fail in the NFL.
Really?
I root against every player not on the Chiefs.
Yeah, but can we stop with this Chiefs act that you have? We all know you're not a Chiefs fan. You're a Jet fan. All right? Like, let's stop with you pretending that you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan.
But yeah, I think you should like just because you fall in love with a guy because you fall in love with Jaden Daniels because you want your team to pick him. You're not falling in love with Jaden Daniels because you just love Jaden Daniels.
But you know why I'm not going to root against Jaden Daniels? I want the Commander fan, but you know the history of that fan base. I want them to make a triumphant return. I went to a game in Landover, Maryland. It was the last day I was at what we used to call our network, CBS Sports Radio, before I went to Sirius for 3 months, and then they begged me to come back here. I remember I resigned at the 2 to 6 a.m. Eastern time shift. Everyone knew it. I announced it, though, on the air. And I took a train down that morning, and I went to Landover, Maryland with my buddy. I think they were the Redskins at the time. I don't think they were the football team yet. And we ended up going to that Patriots-Redskins game. The thing was, though, that stadium, it's a dump of a stadium. There were no fans of the home team there. And it's one thing like, all right, that's the Patriots, right? Everyone was showing up. There were like a weird amount of Cowboys fans there. So the first 2 picks of the draft, you have the Bears, who have never had a quarterback, and you have the Commanders, who their fan base, there was apathy for so many years with the end of Daniel Snyder. So I hope those 2 quarterbacks are successful because I want to see those fan bases enjoy football once again, like the way that I've enjoyed football. So that's why I'll be rooting for Jaden Daniels, because I'm a good person, Samter.
I mean, why you feel any connection to another team's fan base? I guess maybe
That's
I want
good for the league. It's good for the sport. It's good for what we do.
Who cares? You're a Patriots fan. Are you an NFL fan? Are you going to be like Rob Lowe wearing an NFL hat at a football game? You're not a fan of the league. You're a fan of a team in the league.
Yes, but I love the NFL. And the NFL is better when you have a fan base that used to be one of the best fan bases around actually involved because their owner hasn't driven them out of the sport. They deserve to have a good player.
It makes you happier when that happens? It makes you happier when a fan base has been down?
Yes.
That's weird.
I've one of my good friends is a fan of that football team.
That's weird.
I would like to see him have some good moments in his life.
If you're doing it for a specific person that you're a friend with, sure, you want to see your friend happy. But I'm not rooting for a guy that my team didn't get to draft because I liked him before the draft and now he's on a different team. No, now he's the enemy.
See, but the Commanders have no impact. They have no impact. They have no impact on me.
It's
not like they're going to the Jets.
The Commanders and Patriots are in the Super Bowl. And now,
then that's different.
I love Jaden Daniels.
But that's different. I'm not rooting for him against my team in the Super Bowl. I'm talking about just for him to be a successful player or not.
Week 7, Commanders, Patriots.
Stu, do me a favor.
You know what you are? You're
do
LeBron
me a favor,
James.
Stu, just Tony Reale his mic for a second. Bears 1, Caleb Williams. Commanders 2, Jaden Daniels. 3, Patriots, Drake May. And let me make myself abundantly clear with Drake May. You sit him for bare minimum 10 to 12 games this year. The only way he gets on the field before sometime in November is if they pull off a trade for Brandon Ayuk or T. Higgins, which Elliott Wolf, you want me to like you, Elliott Wolf? Tell Jonathan Kraft to shut the bleep up tonight. You take Drake May at 3 and then use that second-round pick to go find a way to get Ayuk or T. Higgins. You're willing to spend the money for Calvin Ridley, so go spend the money for those guys and give up the draft capital. In at number 4, the best player in the draft, Marvin Harrison Jr. We have our first trade in at 5. I do think the Giants are going to get jumped by the Minnesota Vikings. If the Patriots are trading the pick at 3, I only want them to trade it with the Giants because they fall down to 6 and they get the Giants next year first-round pick. I think the Giants are going to be bad this year. For Minnesota, you're getting 11. You're getting 23 and probably next year's one. None of those picks, to me, are going to be in the top 10. So I think the Vikings are desperate. I do believe the Vikings trade up. I think the Chargers fall back, and Minnesota ends up snagging J.J. McCarthy. In at number 6, I have a change. I think Perloff has won me over here. I believe that Rome Odunze is the better player. It seems like forever Malik Neighbors has been mocked as either the first or second best receiver, more likely the second best receiver in this draft class. Knowing Joe Shane the way that I do, and this I did not talk to Joe Shane or anything like that, I just feel like the more that Perloff said and you hear where this stuff leaks out from, that Rome Odunze then is the pick if McCarthy's off the board at 6. For the New York Giants. So there's the change. Tennessee, they're going with Joe Alt. I think, if Joe Alt is not on Tennessee come tomorrow, that will be my biggest surprise of the first round. I know you've had some other players on the offensive line be projected, but I'd be really surprised if Joe Alt isn't on Tennessee. And for people thinking that, maybe Harbaugh will snag him with the Chargers, maybe on a trade back if he starts to fall. But Joe Alt told us the other day he didn't have a top 30 visit with the Los Angeles Chargers. Falcons, I think with Malik Neighbors there, That's the Malik Neighbors landing spot. Bears end up taking Dallas Turner out of Alabama. And then the Jets at 10. I think the Jets want one of these 3 wide receivers. If they're all off the board, could they go offensive lineman? Could they trade back? Yeah. Even though I'm not a huge fan of this guy projecting into the NFL, I do believe this pick has Aaron Rodgers and his fingertips will be all over it. They'll go Brock Bowers out of Georgia. So the last mock draft that I'm giving you, Bears, Caleb Williams, Commanders, Jaden Daniels, Patriots, Drake May, Cardinals, Marvin Harrison Jr., Vikings trade up, they get J.J. McCarthy, Giants go Rome Odunze, Tennessee goes Joe Alt, Atlanta goes to Malik Neighbors, Bears select Dallas Turner, and then the New York Samters, the JTS Jets, they do rock and roll with Brock Bowers. They rock out with their Brock out. All righty, we will take a time out here on the Infinity Sports Network. When we come on back, we have to tell you about some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. You will hear from Caleb Williams. You'll hear from J.J. McCarthy. You'll hear from Dave Canales and so many more. We got to get to a news brief. Update time first, though. Here he is, the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, the NFL draft is hours away from getting underway in Detroit. The anticipation is built because of the number of quarterbacks available as well as the number of teams that need one. As many as 3 can go with the top 3 picks and 4 in the top 5 or even the top 10. About the only certainty tonight so far is that the Bears will select USC's Caleb Williams with the number 1 pick. Lots of afternoon baseball today at Wrigley Field. Pete Crow Armstrong with his first Major League hit and his first Major League home run as the Cubs defeated the Astros 3-1. The Mariners topped the Rangers by a score of 4-3, while the Phillies blanked the Reds 5-0. Zach Wheeler gets the win. He's 2-3 now with an ERA of 1.93 as the Reds managed just 3 hits today. The Twins get a pair of Edouard Julien home runs in a 6-3 win over the White Sox. The Guardians topped the Red Sox 6-4. Jose Ramirez with a grand slam in that one, and it was the Brewers over the Pirates 7-5. Right now, top of the 6th, the Dodgers lead the Nationals 1-0. The Padres crushing the Rockies 9-4 in the top of the 8th, and the Royals and Blue Jays in a rain delay with KC in front 2-1 in the 6th. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. We're the Backstreet Boys, and you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, we will get to a news brief in just a second to wrap up the show. It is the Zach Gelb Show. But there is a big report out there. Diana Rossini, senior NFL insider for The Athletic. Just make sure this is her actual Twitter. It is. The 49ers have had conversations with teams, including with one picking in the top 10, about trading either of their prize wide receivers, Brandon Ayuk, or my best friend, Deebo Samuel, in an effort to move up in the first round per sources. So I understand the report is one of the teams that they called are in the top 10. So it doesn't mean that the 49ers can't still trade up and it not be in the top 10. Like, it could be outside of the top 10. I wonder if this means, and once again, this could be a bunch of hot air too. I wonder if this means, because I've said it, right? Ayuk is the better wide receiver. Deebo's the better all-around player. If maybe the 49ers, who know they have to pay Brandon Ayuk a new contract soon, believe it's better to pay Brandon Ayuk, and then they could move up and get another wide receiver, pay Ayuk, and then you trade Deebo Samuel, and that frees up some cap space. I guess that is on the table. Now, they could still trade Ayuk, and they could find a way to get into the top 10. But let me just throw around this simple question. Who's the team in the top 10 that they've talked to? Because if you're moving up into the top 10, it doesn't necessarily mean that the 49ers are hell-bent on getting a wide receiver. Maybe they think there's another position that they need. So I'll give you the teams in the top 10, and then Stu and Samter, you give me your best guess, because I have my best educated guess on this. Bears are at 1, Commanders are at 2, Patriots are at 3. Let's do this. Let's rule out 1, 2, and 3. I think it's safe to say we know Caleb Williams going 1, Jaden Daniels going 2, and either the Patriots are going to take a quarterback or 3, or someone's going to move up at 3 to take a quarterback. And I don't believe that the San Francisco 49ers are going to trade, here's the hot take of the day, Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk to go get Drake May when Brock Purdy, you just did strike somewhat gold in the 7th round, Mr. Irrelevant. So from 4 to 10, it's the Cardinals, it's the Chargers, it's the Giants, it's the Titans, it's the Falcons, the Bears, and the Jets. Which team in the top 10 did the 49ers have a conversation with about potentially them moving into the top 10 and in return them trading either Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel? Stu?
I believe it is the New York Jets, so they could pair, some type of playmaker with Aaron Rodgers, a veteran playmaker like Deebo or Ayuk.
So you'd have Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and Ayuk or Deebo Samuel for... See, Samter, if this happens, by the way, you're not allowed to go jump back on the Jets bandwagon, okay? I don't want to hear you start claiming the Jets again. That was my first thought as well, Stu. Samter, when you went through that those listed teams, was it the Jets as well that you first jumped to?
Go Chiefs. No, Chargers are the first thing that came to my mind. Harbaugh, with that quarterback, wants to not have a rookie receiver as his top option. He wants a veteran who he can trust. Mm-hmm. He has a relationship with the 49ers. So I feel like...
I don't know if that's a good relationship.
Well, Balky's gone. I mean, he has a relationship with a lot of people in that organization. Yeah. The problem that he had was with Balky, and Balky's out of there, so I don't think that's a problem now. So, yeah, I think that the Chargers make the most sense for the 49ers to move up, and the Chargers can get a star wide receiver to put with that star quarterback and do something with it, and maybe get other draft capital to go along with it.
And just trying to figure this out, I don't think the Cardinals should do this. Take Marvin Harrison Jr. The Chargers could be in play. If a quarterback's not there, maybe the Giants, but I think they would just draft the wide receiver in a Dunze or Neighbors who's ever available in that spot, if not both. I don't think it's Tennessee, right? They have D-Hop, and they just signed Calvin Ridley. I don't believe it's the Bears, because remember, they just traded for Keenan Allen, and they have DJ Moore. They could draft a wide receiver, but to then pay another wide receiver, I don't see that. If it's not the Jets, if it's not the Chargers, you know it could be. It could be Atlanta. Atlanta would be fun. Imagine putting Deebo in that offense with Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. Oh, hello. That would be super duper fun. I think we narrowed it down here. Chargers, Falcons, or the Jets, if it's one of these teams in the top 10. I think those would be the only 3 potential landing spots. All righty. Let's update you some of the biggest stories of the world of sports with some audio. We get to a news brief.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Extra, extra, read all about it.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Let's start off with Caleb Williams. We know he's going to be the number 1 overall pick tonight. The Bears are picking at 9 again. Who does he think the Bears should draft?
I was able to choose, and if I was picked number 1 of the Bears, I'd probably go Olu Fashanu, because I know he put his life on the line for me, protected me, and then, I'd probably go one of the top 3 wide receivers. Whoever's there now.
So in at number 9, if you're like, oh, why did he mention Olu? It's not crazy. We've seen him mocked in the top 10. They were high school teammates together. But the wide receivers, I don't think the Bears need another wide receiver, but it could be an added luxury that if one of those guys in the top 3, Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, or Malik Neighbors falls, then they'll take him. If not, I think they do go on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think they're going to go offensive line because The Bears are pretty solid on the left and right side for the tackle positions of their offensive line. Here is J.J. McCarthy. I thought this is some of the more fascinating audio that I've heard in the draft process. Because if you have like an agreement, like a hush-hush, wink-wink agreement, that we're going to draft you if you're there, and then you basically tell that to everybody, well, do you want to go to that team? Are you maybe trying to get someone else to move up for you? Here's J.J. McCarthy, though, on The Rich Eisen Show.
I have somewhat of an idea. New York Giants, I've spent the most time with. You know, they're a phenomenal staff. Love Coach Dable. Love, Mr. Shane. Love Coach Tierney, Coach Kafka, Chicago guy. Just being able to go in there, pretty much know like most of the install because Coach Dable came from Alabama and Coach Gaddis came to Michigan from Alabama. So it's similar formations, motions, plays, all that stuff. So being able to get that install in has been great. I met with them twice. It's been amazing.
I'd be surprised if it's the Pats. We know that it's not the Commanders or the Bears. Minnesota's going to try their hardest to move up. I think he knows that he's not, like you say that, I think he knows that he's not getting past 6. But then also it's like pick me kind of energy as well from J.J. McCarthy. Here is Deontay Johnson. So he gets traded from the Steelers to the Panthers, and I guess they had a big dinner with him and the brass in Carolina, and he admitted he had no clue who Dave Canales was the head coach as he was talking to him at this big fancy schmancy dinner.
Dave, he was cool. To be honest, I didn't know he was the head coach when I went out to dinner with him because he was just talking like this his energy he brings, and then after the dinner, I'm like, somebody told me he was the head coach. I'm like, oh, I was so surprised. Like, but other than that, like I love his energy. So like I said, I'm excited to play for him.
Isn't that amazing? You get traded to a team, and you go to dinner, and when you sit down at that dinner, and the coach starts speaking, you had no clue who your head coach was. That's wild. Here is Dave Canales of the Panthers, their head coach, on Xavier Leggett. He is the wide receiver out of South Carolina, saying publicly that he guaranteed them that the Panthers, if he's still there with their second-round pick, that, yes, that's the selection. It would be Xavier.
Recently, you saw the video of Leggett saying that he's met with you guys 4 or 5 times, and you guys have told him if he's there at 33, you're taking him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a great conversation, I definitely said that to him and about 50 other guys, man, so we take you at 33. It's actually a lead-in question. So when we draft you at 33, what happens now? And then there's a bunch of questions that happen after that, so, part of the process.
He gives me a little creepy vibes, Dave Canales. Just when I hear him, like, when I first heard Mike McDaniel speak and how much of an open book he was, I'm like, a little bit creepy. It ended up working out. Those are the vibes I get right now with Dave Canales. Let's hear this LSU fan who was hit in the head by a home run ball the other day.
It was on a rope, and, I've been carrying this glove with me for years, and I was like, okay, now's my time. I got one coming, and hole in the glove, man. What can I say? Beamed off my dome, and here we are. Got a nice little goose egg.
Does it hurt?
It don't feel good. It felt like every bit of a 109-mile-an-hour fastball, home run ball. Yes.
Did we get the ball afterwards? Or?
No, it skipped over the fence, but Josh Pearson came to toss me their toss ball that they do in between innings, so he tossed it to me. Probably Friday I'll go get Tommy White to sign it for me, and maybe kiss my Bobo.
That's amazing. Did you see Russell Wilson the other day when he threw out the ceremonial first pitch at the Pirates game? He brought a glove. Come on, Russ. You can't be throwing out the first. I know you're a baseball player, but you can't be throwing out the first pitch with the glove. Fun show today. Big thanks to Samter. Big thanks to Stu. Big thanks to Brian Billick. Big thanks to Andrew Perloff as well, and each and every one of you. We'll be back tomorrow, and guess what tomorrow is? It's a Football Friday. That's right. NFL Draft Recap, Round 2 and 3 preview. JR coming up next for the next 2 hours, and it's JR and Bart for the Infinity Sports Network NFL Draft Preview Show. We'll talk to you tomorrow, everybody. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.